Hello, welcome to another episode of Xbox Infinite. It's episode 69, dude.
Yeah, it's a freaky episode today.
Yeah, we were just talking about flies, eyes, thongs, and all that sort of that good stuff. We've got a pretty good show for you this week. We have some pretty crazy topics. I think there's some disagreements on the panel, so this is going to be absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. I love when people argue. But before we get into the topics, want to welcome in for the first time, finally got him in, Clownz. Welcome to the show, man. We've been talking about this for like a long time, probably like you said, since the episodes are in the 30s. Welcome to the show, man. How you been? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here. You guys rock. Be honest with you, this last week I've been playing Adobe Premiere Pro, editing all the footage from MegaCon.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can now disclose that I've been playing Minecraft Legends.
Yeah, I saw you playing it last night. I was going to hit you up about that. I don't know what you can disclose and what you can't disclose, but we'll ask you, and you can just say no. Moving on, Garuda Intruda, welcome back, man. Thank you very much for jumping in this week. We appreciate you coming on always. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Yeah, week's been great. Thanks again for having us. I absolutely love coming in, and man, there's so much going on in the gaming world. If you can't find something to play, I don't know what to tell you. I have started Ghostwire Tokyo. I put a couple of hours into that. It's very interesting. Looks beautiful. I've been catching up on The Mandalorian, watching that one. Metallica's new album came out yesterday. Man, I'm just overwhelmed with things. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm having a great time. So, yeah, very busy. And thanks for having me. Yeah, let's get into it.
What's the new Metallica album called? Is it Wheelchairs and Walking Sticks?
No, it's not. Man, they sound like they're about 25 years old, man. It is awesome.
I gotta hear it, man. I gotta hear it.
Is he drinking again? Because if Hatfield's not drinking again, then I'm not listening.
Yeah, the lyrics are very heavily surrounding his struggles, and I think it makes the album all the better for it. Yeah, it's a good album, man.
Awesome. I love struggles, especially when it's in the PlayStation community. Dude, Cutie, welcome back. How has your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? Don't say World of Warcraft. God.
Actually, hey everyone. Hey Chad, how's it going? I actually last night streamed a new game that's in closed beta at the moment. It's being released by Ubisoft. As some of you know, I've been accepted into the creators program, and XDefiant is, when it was working, so much fun. You get to play as different factions from the, major sort of titles from Ubisoft. And basically, someone said it in the chat. They said it's like Call of Duty, but with like special abilities. So I don't know. I think it's a vibe. I think you guys would like it if you like shooters. So loving that.
Yeah. Sorry. I want to riff off that because I actually thought that XDefiant could be successful. It was just the premise that wasn't great, like them using all of their IPs and bringing them into the one game, like a Super Smash sort of Brothers, but as a shooter. And I guess that sounds good when you say it like that, but it just didn't look good. But I think that they could nail the shooting mechanics. I mean, they've definitely nailed. Oh God, come on, brain. What's that? They made it into a really bad Extraction. Come on, Rainbow Six. They sort of nailed the shooting with Rainbow Six, so I mean, I could see that being a thing. I think they just need to sort of change the premise. But sorry, Cutie, what else have you been up to?
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I jumped in with some other craze. It was a lot of fun. So definitely, if you do want to be a part of it, anyone can. You just have to watch half an hour of someone else doing it, and you'll get access as long as your Twitch is linked in with your Ubisoft account. So definitely jump in if you get the opportunity. Outside of that, nothing really that much. I've been doing a lot of personal life stuff, but I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to jam with you guys on episode 69 of Xbox Infinite.
69, dude. I'm probably going to say that quite a bit. Mark in the chat saying our volume is low. I'm not sure whose volume it is. It might be Cutie's. That's because she's probably sitting about 5 feet back from her mic.
That is not true. I'm right here. So maybe just turn me up.
Yeah, you got to get right on that mic. You got to almost Infinite Umbra, how you doing? How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Oh man, it's been an interesting week for me, brother. I've been playing a bunch of things. I've been on a real heavy ARPG kick ever since the Diablo 4 beta. So I've been playing. Now I'm playing Torchlight 2. I have Part 3. By the way, both are on sale, folks, for like $2 and $3 and some change, respectively. So, get them. They look pretty interesting. Part 2 is fun so far. It's not Diablo level fun, but it's decent. I have the Warhammer ARPGs, an Inquisitor and something else I forgot. I think Chaos Bane, that's it. And I've played a bit of that Metal Gear Rising Revengeance lately. I like that. I don't know why I waited so long to play it, but it's pretty fun. And yeah, man. So I launched my podcast this week, The Fix. And it was interesting because I had Colt Eastwood join me for the first episode. Kind of out of nowhere. I hit him up and it was like, I saw so many people coming at him like over the whole Redfall thing and basically blaming him as if he was at fault for it.
He was.
And and so I said, hey, let me reach out to Colt. I said, hey, Colt, would you care to jump on for a minute? Maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes and such. I'm not trying to keep anybody too long on the show. As my airtime, I'm trying to keep short. And he's like, I can give you 30. I'm like, look at God. He didn't have to do that. And so he joined me and Daniel McGee. Man, I didn't have the audio channel set up, and it was 20 minutes of fixing that Colt literally helped me do live. And the whole time, I know beads of sweat are just pouring down my head. Like, I'm like, oh no. And I was so sure of myself too, everybody. I was so damn sure of myself that I had everything right. But at the end of the day, that after that was set up, everything was good. Really good podcast after the fact. Conversations were flowing and everything else like that. So I'm happy and excited that it was a decent broadcast and everything like that. And if you all are not subscribed to me, please do so.
Yeah, absolutely. You can head down into the description if you want to find any one of the guests or any one of the panel members. And their links will be in the description. Look, we do need to jump into that topic. I will say this, just going into it. And I don't think Colt I don't think the focus was on Colt. He's Xbox centric. But I think that the sentiment should be shared around. There's a lot of people that got to go to that Redfall. You're talking about Skill Up. You're talking about Westy. You're talking about all these guys who play shooters, big in the community. Not all of them. In fact, most of them didn't talk about the hardware that they played on. And that to me is a problem. I actually knew that he had played on PC, and we were talking. Yeah. I was talking about it with someone in the community who is has been close to Colt, and we were talking about how we actually did believe that because of that, Redfall was likely to come out at 30 FPS. So I was
interesting.
Sort of prepared.
It's interesting because Colt did mention though in a tweet at a point that it was on PC. Yeah, so he did say it or write it rather. So it's not like he kept that secret. But he explained why everything, by the way. Just check out the podcast, folks. You'll hear all of his thoughts and things like that. I don't think, he was trying to be shady or anything like that. But again, because Colt and who he is and him being well recognized in the community, people unfairly put a type of, responsibility on him that's not due to him. So a lot of people, I've seen them myself, the responses, people were, oh, you, like as if he made the game 30 frames per second or something. So yeah. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, I mean, if Colt is switching the dev kits to 360 kits, that's probably not a fair thing to do to the developers. Thanks, John Wolf, in the chat there. That's a good one. Yeah, look, I don't think he deserved all the smoke he got. I do think, and I did say to him online, that, hey, man, like you probably should have been a little bit more vocal about that. I think that's where the problem is. I don't think he deserves the amount of shit that he copped for it. Like that's definitely not fair.
No, it's especially when he's one of the only ones out there making the game look good.
True. Very true.
Yeah, exactly. He was, but that's sort of part of the issue, though, for him. I mean, we'll get into this whole Redfall thing is our first topic off the rung, but I think the issue is that he was pumping it pretty hard, and then this sort of happened. So I mean, he put himself in the spotlight, I think he was just trying to be positive about the game, and I don't think that that's a bad thing, and I don't think that he deserved all the shit that he got. I just think as a whole, all of the creators, not just Colt, that got to spend some time with Redfall should have been, pretty open about what they played on. And I mean, he did say it on XNC. That's absolutely true. He definitely said it on XNC. And, and I saw, again, like I said, I already knew that it was played on PC, and I sort of saw this coming. So obviously, let's jump into this first topic. So they went live with this news the other day that Redfall was going to release at 30 FPS with no performance mode, and it's to come later in a later update. And I'm just going to riff off what Colobrial said. Now, Colobrial is extremely Xbox positive. He brings a lot of news to the community, and I think his take is pretty on point, and it's a concern. There's a lot to sort of unpack with this, especially with what he said. And then obviously I want to get, of the opinions of the panel and the guests about what they think about, a first party shooter coming out at 30 FPS. Because in my opinion, you should never have a first person shooter at 30 FPS. We haven't had that since before the Xbox One X days. So this is something that's a little bit concerning when it's a first party studio. There's nuance to it. Absolutely. However, let's just jump into what Colobrial said. He said his opinion. Microsoft needs to care to not make Xbox console owners look like second-class citizens right now. Redfall is not supporting 60 FPS at launch, and after being shown running at that frame rate in basically every single gameplay trailer is just the icing on the cake. Now, that was his initial tweet, and he went on to talk more, and I will link that in the chat now. And he's pretty on point, and it is a concern that they seem to be putting console owners to the back and looking after the PC ports. That's a concern for me. And the other concern is, Xbox is a console, initially. That's what it is. And I think you should look after those gamers first and foremost, or at least evenly. And this goes into why we don't have some games on PC, Game Pass on Xbox and vice versa. I think there should be parity across the board. If you're going to release something on PC, obviously we're not looking for 8K, 120 FPS on console. It's just what's, possible to do on the console should be done. We've heard them both say, and look, I love Xbox. Don't get me wrong. I bleed green. This is my platform. But we've heard Phil say, we've heard Aaron, both great guys. I don't think that they should be kicked out of their job, but we've heard them both say that this generation is about frames, and that they'll be targeting 60 FPS on every game, every first-party game. And we know it's possible. We've seen it done. The game on the screen that you're watching right now has a performance mode on the Series S at 1440p 60 FPS. Now, it's not a co-op game, but it's pretty graphically heavy. I'm talking about Resident Evil. Now, if that can do it, why aren't we seeing first-party studios do it? There's nuance to this, absolutely. I'm going to go to the panel, but I do understand that this game was already in development prior to being purchased. That's definitely something to consider. However, if you need the time, take the time. Don't release the game this year. Release it next year. I want to see Xbox bring their quality first party with no caveats, no holds barred, the best of the best. And I just don't think we're seeing that just yet. And it's a little bit concerning. Clownz, I know that you have a bit of a positive opinion about, the 30 FPS. So what were your thoughts when, they dropped the news that, hey, we're not getting a performance mode straight out the gate?
30 FPS is sexy, man. Sexy. No, listen, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I see people going crazy over this. It's a video game. I see some people going back to the Series X boxes and be like, hey, the box says 4K 120 frames per second, okay? And this is Xbox first party title, so it needs to meet these requirements. It should at least be 60 frames per second. Well, listen, first of all, Riskit, you brought up the fact that in 2017 is when Redfall started development, long before Xbox even purchased Bethesda. Then the Series X came out, which was before Xbox purchased Bethesda. Then after the Series X, about a year later, is when they finally completed the purchase of Bethesda. So this time frame and forcing Microsoft into this corner, saying, well, it's a first party title, it should be 60 frames per second out the gate. No, it shouldn't be, because Bethesda may not have had that goal in mind prior to them being purchased by Microsoft. Now, people argue, okay, well, Clownz, they had 2 years since the purchase of Bethesda to get this right. Well, we have no idea what the environment was like for Redfall being developed between 2019 and 2021 with the post-pandemic and pandemic situation. We have no idea how big the team was, how remote they were, how many other studios were helping on this project, who was helping prior to this acquisition. And then on top of that, you look at all that and you're like, well, you know what? Maybe it really is not Microsoft's fault. And maybe people need to stop putting Phil in the corner or Greenberg in the corner and saying, hey, you promised us 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second. No, it's not their fault. Whatever transpired during this pandemic, post-pandemic situation definitely affected development of Redfall. To what extent, I can't tell you because I'm not a developer, but I'd say cut them some slack and look at this. Now, there's that side like you, Riskit, that's like, oh, well, let's delay, let's push for a delay for Redfall and let it come out in 60 frames per second in all its glory. But then you do that, right? You're going to have other people upset because it was already delayed previously. So then you got the other camp that's going to be like, well, I don't want no delay. You can't afford a delay, Xbox. You can't afford delay on a first party. So what is Microsoft really supposed to do here? Because either way, they're almost like shot in the foot here. Either way, no matter what they do, they can't do right, whether it's by critics of the platform or fans of the platform. So why not just release it at 30 frames per second, make as many people as happy as they can, and then try to rush a patch out for 60 frames per second? Now, granted, a lot of people are playing Redfall through Game Pass, obviously. So you have people that are even playing on PC as well. And the PC players, they are going to be happy, right? I mean, they're not going to be upset because they got 60 frames per second. So one whole side's going to be happy. And they're not going to have to worry about a delay for something that doesn't affect them. I think Microsoft's taken the best stance that they can in this situation because it is just to fulfill that purpose of getting this game out. They have to do it. They can't delay it again. It's
a very interesting thing, Clownz, because I was on the side of, so with Starfield, I was very vocally saying that this is an L. And if they delayed the game, Clownz, it would still be an L. It's not it's just the thing with this is all we seem to be seeing from first party studios this generation is misstep after misstep. And I'm not saying like, this is not like, Aaron Greenberg is not in there like typing on the keyboard developing this game. Phil Spencer's not in there typing on the keyboard developing this game. No. I'm sure their intention most definitely was and still is to get these games out at the highest quality possible. And I understand that shit happens, man. It's the same in every business.
Riskit, I got to say something before you call on somebody else, but two things I want to say. One is, where was this anger with Last of Us on PC at 30 frames per second? PK brought that up the other day. Where was that anger for Last of Us on PC, a game that has been on consoles? How many iterations, and they couldn't get it right at 6 frames per second on launch on PC? Where was the hate for that and all the outrage and all the anger? It wasn't there.
Wait, I thought there was tons of outrage for that game.
Oh, no, not compared to what we're seeing with Redfall. Nothing.
I don't think it was about the frames per second. It was about the quality of the port. So
it was more about the port.
Yeah.
It was more about the poor port. I'll answer that question though, just to say.
But I mean, it's
just to answer you real quick, Clownz.
Right?
Let me answer you though. It's similar to a degree. We don't give. Let's be honest. We're Xbox gamers by and large. I have a PS5. Most of you all have PlayStations. Many in the chat have it. We don't give a damn about that game. It's the fourth iteration or something like that. Most of us don't care because we've played through that and it's old news. That's one. Two, it's not Xbox. That's on a PC right there. We're talking about specifically Xbox. I can't say, oh well, Xbox did wrong here, but what about PlayStation? You know how kids get in trouble, but well, this person did this too. That's not how these things work. We can't sit here, and I'm not trying to say this to be negative. I'm just saying that we cannot sit here and say, well, these other people on the other side of things did wrong too or messed up here. Why do we have to focus on this? Because we are focused on Xbox. That's where we're at. So if it's something on our side of the thing where things are going wrong, it would behoove us not to be like our Hoover brothers and call things out when it's wrong. You see what I'm saying? That's what I want to say.
And there's something else to say there real quick. Sorry, Riskit. Before I lose my train of thought, I just want to say it out there. Another thing too, Xbox has been real positive about this. Like, Phil's not out here redirecting blame. Neither is the marketing team. They could redirect all the blame on Bethesda, but they're not, right? They're just letting it out. Whatever people want to say, they're just letting it happen. If this was PlayStation, they would be pointing the blame at the studio. They'd be like, "Oh, Ben Studios really messed that up."
That's for a fact. You're right about that.
Yeah.
No question. And listen, you're right too that ultimately these two things. I'm sorry to cut in because I know we got to get to Garuda and Doomy, but you're right. It's not that big a deal, right? The problem is attrition, and I was pointing this out before. I don't know where I said this, but the fault of Xbox seems to be, at least. And this was Arcane. This is really on Arcane. That's one. So you're right about that. This is not on Xbox. But if you're now under Xbox, we can't pick and choose. That's the problem with us now. Well, when the game does well, Hi-Fi Rush, that was made before. That was made well before it was brought. They were brought out and brought to Xbox. But since it was well done and a good game, a great game, I love Hi-Fi Rush. Xbox got a W. You see what I mean? But when this comes out in this issue here, and they tell us for the longest until 3 weeks until launch, you're going to get 60 frames per second. And now we hear about that 60 frames. Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but we have to get out of that thing where we pick and choose. We have to take our little L's, if you will. I'm not considering it an L, but we have to take that when it comes. We got to take our W's when they come. Celebrate both, right? It is what it is. This is not on us as gamers. That's on Arcane. And I want to point out something too I found out. I didn't even notice, but Arcane Austin right here, every game they've made has been 30 frames per second, I came to find out. Every game. So this is something they do.
But
it's not even necessarily a negative on them. This is just to be fair, it's probably their aim.
Yeah, but that's not a big thing.
I mean?
When was their last game? Their last game was, in the last generation. And
most or something like that.
Yeah, but
it wasn't in this generation.
Yeah, and most games that have been developed by studios are in the last generation. So saying that, you could probably hit that with just about every studio that's developed a game. So just like, PK in the chat there, is saying, it's a what about Sony thing. Like Sony is not part of this. This is not a Sony thing. And I completely understand Clownz, and don't worry, they get plenty of smoke from Riskit. But we have to hold our preferred platform to account. I don't think this is a massively bad thing. It's not terrible. It's coming. They said it's coming, and
it's really not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's just a fact. Again, it's the attrition of negativity that's been surrounding Xbox. Oh, this happened.
I don't know.
Oh, this is delayed. Oh, that is delayed. You see what I'm saying? Halo, that happened. So all those things are making it look worse than what it is. That's really what it is.
Garuda?
Yeah, look, I was just saying, I've got a little bit of a different opinion, I guess. I think it's a massive deal. We're yet to see the fruits of the purchase of ZeniMax and Bethesda. We're just about to finally get the first exclusives, the first big first-party titles from Xbox's purchase of ZeniMax, and we get this. There's so many reasons why this is terrible news, having Redfall at 30 FPS. It's a first-person shooter, first of all. You just do not play first-person shooters, especially current-gen only titles at 30 FPS. It's horrible. So what this actually does, and another reason why this is a massive L, I think it is a big deal, is because you're actually going to fracture your player base. If the new metric of success is player engagement, this is counter to that. Because what's going to happen is all the hardcore, most of us, like everyone listening today and everyone probably on the panel, are not going to play this game at launch. because they either won't go back to 30 FPS at all, such as myself, or they won't play that genre of games at 30 FPS because of the obvious downfalls of it. So you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are waiting for that 60 FPS patch. Then you're going to have a whole bunch of people complaining how bad the game plays at 30 FPS at launch. You really are fracturing the player base, in my opinion. The other thing is, this is like I said before, it's a full current gen game. Xbox with their first party have officially left the Xbox One behind. We would be expecting them to use every one of those tools that we keep hearing about, everything that we were promised, and we're not getting that at all. Redfall doesn't look like it's doing anything next level or out of the ordinary that says this game might run at 30. It's not Hellblade. It's not a photorealistic sort of game. Look, I understand it has untethered co-op, and I understand that Arcane has moved from the Void engine, which was an iteration of id Tech, which was easy to optimize for, to Unreal Engine 4. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, but it's well documented that Unreal Engine 4 isn't the best engine for an open world game. I don't know if that has much to do with it, but it's just a huge, massive L. Like, for example, I was looking forward to this game. I won't be touching that with a 10-foot stick until I can have that at a smooth frame rate. It's extremely disappointing. Another facet and another angle of this is the optics for Xbox. They've got a stigma around them at the moment for being able to manage their in-house studios. This does absolutely nothing to fix those optics. And whether or not you think it really needs to be fixed, honestly, it does. It's out there that they can't manage them, and that they're, and this is bad. This is really bad. Like, you tell me why that game can't do 60 FPS at launch. Like, why? At least tell us why it can't. And look, I do understand that the game would have been heavy into development before the GDKs for these new systems were sent out. But look, okay, the game was supposed to come out a year ago. What have they been doing for 12 months? Like, I can't defend this at all. And this is not a personal attack on Greenberg or Spencer or anyone from Xbox. I get that they didn't develop the game, but they definitely oversee it. If you're under the Xbox first party umbrella, you should have a set of standards and KPIs that you have to meet, which were outlined to us. And look, Greenberg said it, so we have to make him accountable. 60 FPS will be the standard for this generation. Everybody under your umbrella should meet that expectation. And there's no reason why they couldn't, especially with the delay, the budget, all the in-house skills to get with the new systems. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse for this.
Oh, look, I think as an Xbox-centric podcast, we often are, we're going to admit when Xbox is at fault, and we will, we'll fly that flag when it's necessary. I will say, though, there are 3.2 billion gamers in the world, and 1.8 of them play on PC primarily. Now, they have been pushing PC Game Pass. They have been ensuring that their games are incorporated on both console and PC. I can see some people in the chat already saying, that's okay, I'll play it on PC. And those people don't care. And lots of these people have both consoles and PCs. I have a PC and a console as well. So I think for them, when they realized, and obviously, the previous releases from Arcane haven't been 60 frames per second, and they're like, okay, we'll make the decision to continue to release the game and add 60 frames per second to console later down the line.
Just on that, they didn't have the hardware to launch at 60 FPS back then. That was in a previous generation. Now they have everything.
And that's true. That's true, but they've already started with a previous gen hardware. So it's
well, that's just a matter of iterating on a new thing. Like that. Yeah. That doesn't excuse them for getting it up to par.
No. What I'm saying is, First of all, they said, yes, this game will release at 60 frames per second. They didn't say on console, did they? They said just in general.
No, but what's strange
No,
to me
wait.
is that. Sorry. Go on.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying, if you have a massive issue with this, go out, buy a PC, you'll have a great time. Like, honestly, if it really, really, really means that much to you.
That's unfair to say, Cutie, because in Australia to buy a PC, because some people can't afford PCs, and that's why they have these consoles.
I understand.
And so when you say that, when this happens, not when you say that, but when they lean towards a PC side, they're actually cutting out a demographic that can't afford to buy those PCs. In Australia, if you want a PC that's going to run Redfall at the settings that you would like to minimum run it at, you're probably looking at anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. That's a lot of money to spend.
I understand. I understand that, and that's fine. And those people, they're just going to have to wait if they want 60 frames per second.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but we shouldn't have. Hold on, but we shouldn't have to wait. That's the point.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be a case that hey, it is what it is. We bought this $500 plus, and for me, $740 plus, as I got it from a scalper, plus new next gen console. But hey, it is what it is. If I don't have a $4,000 PC, that's my fault. That's not a real reasonable thing to say.
No,
it was a secret. It absolutely
no.
was a secret. They told us and showed it at 60 frames per second until the other day. Mm-hmm. That was a secret.
Yeah, there's a few things here too. Like
they didn't release this game and be like, "Whoops, it's 60."
They more or less did. It's 3 weeks away.
Yeah,
I have a question for the panel, for everybody in the panel. Did Arcane ever say that this game was ever meant to be 60 frames per second?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. They have every advertisement they've had has said 60 frames per second. They only now got rid of that.
Has been 60 FPS as well.
Yeah, gameplay we've seen has been in 60. They gave us the illusion that we would get that at launch. That is on them. And again, I'm going to go what Clownz said. He's right. It's not that big a deal. I want people to hear this because I'm only loud because I disagree with some points. I'm saying this. I'm not mad at this, right? I'm not like, right? But the problem is we should not be put in a situation where, I don't have this high-end PC. We're put into a class type of system now. So if you got the PC that's capable, you'll get the best. And that's typically the case anyway, right? But they're getting treated as the first class when we've been hardcore console gamers and with Xbox since day one on Xbox back in 2001.
Exactly. We are the reason.
We should be expected.
Yeah, we are the reason.
But we should be expected to accept less than? Yeah. No, that should not be the case.
We're the reason that Xbox is here.
My only problem with that is don't argue that way. I'm saying that, it should not, it's not as big a deal as some are making it out to be. Clownz is absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. Only the reason why it looks and it's being made a bigger deal is because of it's been compounded by other things that's happened at Xbox. That's why. That's really why.
Yeah.
It is a fatigue.
There's a couple of reasons why I don't think.
It is a fatigue. Let me just jump in. It is a fatigue issue. Like it absolutely is, especially from me as a person, from a personal standpoint. I want I want first party Xbox games to do what they say they're gonna do. I want them to release in the time frame that they say they're going to release in, and I want them to release with the features that they have promised us. I don't think that that's much to ask. Now, someone in the chat, Lemon in the chat, like much respect, love the man. He's a great dude. However, he said he can't. He was talking about Garuda can't say these things because he's not a developer. You don't need to be a developer. You need to know business. I know business. I work in a massive company. I understand how these things work. And if we as a business do not meet the consumer's expectations consistently, then that business is doomed to fail. That is not the way to run a business. Doesn't matter what the devs are doing. You got to bring your staff up to standard. And if it takes time, if it takes resources, you got to manage that. And this is the narrative that we keep seeing out in the community. And look, it's going to take time. They've just bought in a whole bunch. Since 2018, they have grown exponentially. It takes time. I understand this takes processes. You've got Matt Booty running like how many studios now? Like the guy is probably swamped. I get all these things. Right. I understand all these things. But now it's time for, and I wouldn't say excuses. They are reasons. And they're definitely good reasons. but it's time for first-party studios to step up to the plate and start showing us why we spent in Australia $750 on a console, in America $500 on a console, in New Zealand $800 on a console. It's time to put up exactly that. It's time to put up or shut up. Now, with the tools, Garuda, I'm just going to respond to that and I'll go to you. With the tools, I don't expect this game to be using all those tools. To use those tools, to use mesh shaders, to use the velocity architect, to all that stuff, it has to be a ground up build.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't just be like developing for 2 years and go, shit, let's throw in mesh shaders. It doesn't work like that. You got to build from the ground up. So I expect to see those things down the line. I'm not super like, where are the tools? But there are things they can use to give them more overhead. Anyway, this brings us to the refresh.
I want to state something really quick. Two things I saw, and if you're on Twitter, you'll probably see people like doing this whole weird take sides. You better always just never say nothing negative about Xbox, or you're this, or you accept anything, so you're that. We got to get out of that. It's childish and dumb.
100%.
That's
Xbox.
one. That's one. But let me finish this really quick. Let me finish this really quick. So, Enigmatic, brother, you say Arcane has never been a top tier studio, and you people, what do you mean by you people? I had to do Bushido really quick. You people act like they are. They are a top-notch studio. They are not some upstarts. They're not some upstarts. Their average, I think, rating of games, like as far as Metacritic, is like 81 or something of that nature. They're not some low standard, substandard studio, and that's not even a real valid. That's not even a valid excuse. The point of it is they had showcased the game at 60. Their advertisement was in 60. This is a fact. This is not something we're saying.
Right.
And then 3 weeks before, they said all of a sudden you won't get 60 at launch. I'm not saying anybody should be getting up in arms at Arcane or Xbox. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm just saying, hey, I don't like that, and saying they should have done this earlier. It is not that much of a stretch to say that's too far to tell them that, or like Xbox fans, we got to get out of that. And I say this because I see our Hooven brothers do that too, where anything that's negative against PlayStation, we must defend. I don't have to defend a damn thing. I'm going to call out something if I feel it's wrong, and I'm going to defend something when I feel it's right. That's simple.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to be reasonable. Let me say this really quick too. I'm going to be reasonable. So we had another comment. That's why I said it was two things, right? Our brother, what's his name in the chat? Riskit, you highlighted his comment. Palpatine. He said, "How do we as Xbox gamers basically how do we show our displeasure in a reasonable way?" Well, I think this is reasonable what we're doing here. Yeah, this is reasonable. You don't have to get out of pocket, but that's the thing you don't want to do. And that's why I said we have to get out of this whole it's us against them. I'm a real Xbox fan because I'm defending them at everything they do. That's you being a puppet when you do that. And I say that with respect. Get out of that. We don't owe them to defend them. If they're in the wrong here or they're not delivering on what they promised, it is okay to say you all failed to deliver. Again, within reason. They did set the expectation. Again, within reason. Now, don't go overboard. There are some weirdos who go overboard, sure. So on that other end of the spectrum, calm down. So just keep it balanced. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
But don't make excuses that come at other Xbox fans. That's all I'm saying.
A lot of the guys who actually got the invite to go and play the game have commented, not with hard specs, but they've commented that the rigs that they were playing on were quite modest. It was obvious that they were not high end. They were nowhere near top spec. From those in the know who could tell by just looking at the settings and looking at the PCs, they weren't high spec. They weren't top tier PCs. Okay, Colt said it looked like something I used in my office 10 years ago. And it was running at 1080p 60 FPS. Okay, which sounds very similar or lower spec than what we're running in an Xbox Series X. That in mind, why don't we have the option of at least 1080p 60 FPS? Because we know that the playtest wasn't running on high-end gear. Like, they set the expectations with every single trailer they've had, every single video they've had, all the showcases were all 60 FPS. And then you're letting people play the game at 60 on average hardware.
Mhm.
What's going on? Why are we
They
second
set
rate here?
they set that standard. You're right. They made
right.
us believe that's what it's going to be. They again, there are static images right now. I'm going to show somebody, Neil. I'm going to show you later. I'm going to DM it to you, where it showed it listed at 60 frames per second before they took it down. So it was definitely something they wanted us to believe.
Why does every other first-person shooter game that is released in the past 5, 6, 7 years, or this whole generation, let's just say this generation, 3 years, every first-person shooter that released had a 60 FPS or 120 FPS option. No first-person shooter releases at 30. So why are Arcane and Xbox letting this game do that?
And to say this, they're going to give us a 60 patch, right? And I want to
Yeah, I
read
get
this
that,
really
but that
quick
means the
before I
game's
get
not
to that.
finished.
Hold on 1 second. So I want to say this: it's not finished. You're right. And I was saying it on the podcast the other day. Basically, they're giving us an unfinished game, and essentially,
That's right.
So
If a feature's
Kay
not
Asante
available,
said
it
this.
works.
He said it's a cheap excuse, but Xbox and PC are you kind of in the same ecosystem. He's right? And he says it's a cheap excuse, but we should start expecting Xbox to show where the footage is captured from. I agree 100%. But that's the thing. They're showing us this, and like you pointed out, Garuda, from captured footage off PC, but they're not telling us that. And then again, 3 weeks before launch, oh, by the way, you're only getting 30 frames. That is not a good look.
That has to change across the
that
board
right
with the way
there
Xbox
falls
shows
not
their
only
games.
on Arcane, that falls on Xbox too in that regard, because that should have
Right.
been made clear a long time ago. And
Yeah,
this
but
is
they
my
do that with a
this is
lot of
my
their
bigger
games.
issue
That's-
though.
Yeah.
But this is my bigger issue. The problem is that games, we have so many great games coming this year, and this is why I am somewhat concerned, right, or at least annoyed, because we have so many great games coming, even in a short amount of time, in a few weeks now. We got Jedi Survivor coming. We got Dead Island 2 coming, which I'm definitely going to be on. We got Zelda, right? We got all these different games. I'm just throwing these out there. This is going to take all the crowd away from these people, right?
Of course
You
it
see
is.
what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah.
if you
Umbra,
give us
sound
this,
mad.
if you
said
give
you're
us
not
this
mad.
later, if you give us this later, who is still going to be there? What audience is
They're
still
not.
going to be there
They're
to
not. They're
play
pushing it out to die.
patched 60 frames per second game? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where
They're
they're
sending it out to
faltering
the
at.
wolves, man. They're pushing this game out to the wolves. Honestly,
Yeah.
You know what?
That's
I
my
think.
feeling on it.
Do you know what I think? I think that, and it happened. I know Cyberpunk was like a massive, L. But what I think you guys are underestimating. Like, yes, there are a lot of other games that people will be playing during this time. And if they, if you don't play Redfall on launch, because it's not 60 frames per second, it's not going to be a big deal. But I tell you what, the power of influencers, the power of the people, all those people that you watch, idolize, you follow what they're doing, they'll say, this game is beautiful. It's now 60 frames per second. Go play it, and everyone will go play it. So I don't think they're concerned, to be honest. And I think it's just a false outrage. And yeah, I'm not here for it.
It's definitely not
false
false
outrage at all.
No,
It's
No.
not, and that's what I was saying earlier about us just
But
being
you just said
dismissive
it
of
wasn't
other
a big
people's opinions.
deal.
It's not a big deal. Again,
I'm saying
I
it's a massive
clarified.
deal.
Hold on 1 second, Garuda. I am
Yeah.
saying to you, it's not a big deal. But I am also saying, do not just excuse them and hand wave things about, oh, it's not this, it's false outrage. No, it's not. I feel the way I feel genuinely. Others feel the way they feel genuinely. Even those that don't care feel the way they feel genuinely. That's
Yeah,
my
people
point
love
of
a
what I said
bandwagon.
earlier, where I pointed out, do not dismiss one side or the other on their opinions because you think you are right. I would be foolish to sit here and be like, oh, you all are just all being bots because you're defending it. That would be real dismissive of the other side, wouldn't it?
I'm not being
I want
dismissive at all.
but you just did because you said it's false. So my whole thing is this.
No, false
Enigmatic
outrage
dreams.
is a
False outrage means that you're false. It means that you don't really feel this way.
no. It's people who are jumping on a bandwagon because they
are being
the right
false. There is
thing.
no other way around it. If you're saying they're being false outraging, that means that they don't really believe what they're saying, right? Okay, so Enigmatic Dreams said, I completely
Echo
understand
chambers.
where people are upset.
Yeah,
He says, but everyone
Clownz.
forgets that we are hardcore and the minority casuals don't care. He's absolutely correct. That's
Yeah,
where
that's true.
that's where they might get a W. Because this is us, the hardcore, saying this. The casuals
Yeah.
could pick up on the game and it could take off. And I hope that is the case. I'm just saying that we have to make sure not to be dismissive of each other as fans of this console. I see it too often and it's tiring. It's honestly
Umbra,
tiring.
I hope the
Umbra,
casuals
I
don't
just-
pick this game up and run with it because that gives them more incentive to release games like this again in the future. I hope. Look, I don't want to see it fail, but I do want it to be loud and clear to Xbox that we don't want to see games launch this way. If you are missing a feature at launch that you're promising later, then the game isn't finished. It's not feature complete at launch. The other thing I just want to say quickly is Xbox. I'm not blaming Xbox, Phil Greenberg and Booty and everyone like that for the game launching at 30 FPS. That's on Arcane, right? But what I will blame Xbox for and those executives for is their failure to meet the expectations they themselves set. They have a messaging problem. They did this last year with the 12-month showcase. They set the expectation. They failed. They did it again by showing Redfall at 60 FPS on every single one of its gameplay trailers, and when they invited influencers to go and play the game, it was 60. They set the expectations. They sent a message saying this game will be 60, and then 3 weeks out they say, oh no, you console peasants aren't getting 60. That's what I blame Xbox execs for. Their messaging. They set the expectation. They couldn't do it.
That's exactly right. That is exactly the issue, and it seems to be happening time and time again with Xbox messaging. It seems to be missteps, and that was my problem with Starfield. And a lot of people quoted this quote to me when I said it was an L, that Starfield was releasing delayed. And this is an absolutely fire quote, and it definitely is true. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. I believe it was Miyamoto, but that is absolutely true. And I would say delay. I've already said delay Redfall. Delay Redfall. Delay it and wait until it is feature complete and then release it. That's what you should do. It's still going to be an L, but it's the lesser of two evils. To delay a game and then release it feature complete is the lesser of two evils than releasing a game without the features. You are not giving that game its chance to shine. Look, Garuda, I really do think it will hurt the game, because you're going to see a lot of hardcore players that just won't boot this game up. And I know that we are not the majority of the community and we are the minority.
No, but the hardcore has a huge influence, and that's what it's bad optics. It's a bad look for the game. The hardcore has a massive influence. Yet the casuals don't really get in these gaming circles. They're not in the streaming circles. They're not in the news circles. They don't have a huge influence in that way like the hardcore does. And most of the hardcore, we left playing 30 FPS first-person shooters behind years ago. Okay, this is bad look. This is a bad look. This does hurt the game, and it's going to. You watch it.
Yeah, and I believe it will. And we haven't had 30 FPS shooters, like I said, since Xbox One X, and it's just not good enough. And it's a first-party studio. There's no excuse at this point. Like, they've had many chances. And again, I will say to everyone in the chat, that's saying it's not a big deal. And I bleed green. I am an Xbox guy. I fucking love this brand. I love our leader. Our leader is great. I love.
I don't have any leader, but I know you're joking. But no, I'm with you, and that's the problem I have. What I was saying, the discourse, and that's probably why I coming off more angry, is because I've seen this all week and I've seen it in past instances too. But that would tell you how many kind of little unconstructive L's Xbox has gotten. That you have fans trying to defend the indefensible, and you have some are going overboard when they're upset for reasonable reasons, but they go overboard. So I just want to highlight this because Fonz pointed out, he says he's completely disagrees with me on stating it's not a big deal. He says it's very harmful to a brand new IP in this genre day one. He's right. I'm just saying it's not a big deal in different ways. As far as the brand goes, absolutely is going to hurt the brand because it's more, again, that's why I said it's compounded issues that's making it worse than what it is. If Xbox had been collecting W's left and right from the releases, no delays, things of that nature, this would be nothing. None of us would be complaining about it.
Optics, man. The only thing they're consistent on is looking bad.
Yeah. And what does Kay Asante say in the chat? He says it often. Xbox and Microsoft have a habit of snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And he is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. He is absolutely right. It seems like they're going to land and stick the landing,
stepping on rakes,
and then just right at the end, at the finish line, they fall flat on their face. And we need them to stop.
Like Wile E. Coyote off of a mountain range or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't want to drown out. Look, Cutie and Clownz, I know you're getting a lot of negative from us three. I don't want to drown you out. I do want to move on, but I want to just bring this into the fold. So there was a lot of discourse about Starfield, guys. Do you think, Clownz, that seeing what's happened now, we've already seen Redfall delay for a full year and come out without its 60 FPS mode, performance mode? Do you think we're going to see Starfield come out with, even with the delays it's had, without a 60 FPS mode.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Starfield is going to launch with 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think because of the vast majority of how big that game is, I think people are going to be okay with that because it's more like a solo experience for a lot of people, like Skyrim, right? So I think that would be okay. There will be some people upset that they'll want 60, and hopefully it's there. Starfield is so far away from me. I just don't know, man. But I think 30. I'm saying 30.
Yeah, I believe, and I think a lot of people believe it's going to be 30. And again, I also think that that's another L. I'll be disappointed with
Massive.
that.
Yep. That's the day I jumped to PC, just saying.
Cutie, do you think it's going to come out Starfield at 30? And will you be okay with that?
Look, at the end of the day, when these games have had such, long development time, they're not going. Some of them aren't going to be current gen 60 frames per second. And look, I just want to make it clear, like I'm not trying to dismiss anyone's opinion. I just don't like people contributing to negativity in the community because it spreads like wildfire, and I'm not about that. People know that about me. But I think people will play Starfield at 30 frames per second. People who play on PC, they'll be able to improve on that. But this is a beloved game that people will want to experience themselves, and I don't think being released at 30 frames per second will prevent people from playing it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree. I really do think so. And look, as Umbra put, and you make a good point, like negativity does spread like wildfire, and that's not what we're trying to spew here. It is a negative sort of a topic. It's unfortunate. I don't want to be talking about Xbox in a negative light. I love the brand.
No, nothing we said. I don't think anything we've said is personal. Absolutely never. You will never hear that from me. I'm just calling Xbox out on what they've done.
And
really,
I think as Umbra put it, like very succinctly, is that you need to do it in such a way that's reasonable and say, hey, this is not acceptable for me as a consumer. You don't need to go dump it on people. I've seen people saying, like, let's get rid of Phil Spencer. Let's get rid of Matt Booty. Maybe there's decisions within Microsoft's studios, the management of them, they need to make some structure changes where instead of, I wouldn't say get rid of Matt Booty, I would say give that man some assistance. His job has exponentially grown ridiculously over the last 4 years.
And it's going to get harder too.
And it's going to get bigger. And so I think structurally they might need to make some decisions. I haven't given up. I'm not here giving up on Microsoft, but they need to get this messaging right. And they really need to start showing us what they can do with this hardware, because it was touted at the start of the generation as the most powerful console. I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe, other than specs, that it is the most powerful console.
That's the unfortunate part. That's the unfortunate part about all of this, is that we were promised these types of features and things, and they have yet to really use those tools in any meaningful way. And like you all were saying a second ago, Clownz, now that we've had this happen, I'm almost certain we're only getting 30 frames per second in Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we all better come to terms with that now. Honestly,
I've got to start saving up for a expensive PC by the sounds of things.
$6,000,
and that sucks. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave consoles. I want them to do what they promised me they were going to do. That's all I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
They set the expectations. They told me that the consoles were going to be able to do this, so I purchased one with expecting that they were going to do what they said they were going to.
Yeah,
I don't want to go to
it's
PC.
reasonable. It's reasonable to expect to get what they told you to expect.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's throwing negativity out there. I just think that's just looking at the facts and commenting on that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's look. The last, sorry, just quickly, we've had 4 or 5 quote unquote current gen only games release recently that have all had no 60 FPS option. And I know some of those you can say they had poor optimization. I'm talking about Plague's Tale, Requiem. Now we've got Redfall. We had Gotham Knights. I believe there was another 1 or 2 as well. Look, these are current. They're not cross-gen games, and we're still stuck at 30. Like, we've been sold. It feels like we're being sold a lie. In some ways. That's how it makes us feel. We feel ripped off. We're not getting what we were promised, and that's the problem.
Yeah. And that is, I look at it from a consumer standpoint. I am a consumer. I consume these products.
Yeah.
I expect the business
Yeah.
to do what the business said it's going to do. I think Boba Fett Gaming put it in a really good way. You wouldn't go to McDonald's and order a cheeseburger and be happy to just get a burger with no cheese. You got promised cheese. That was on the advertisement. You expect the damn cheese.
Yeah, give me my cheese.
Give me the fucking cheese. Look.
In France, they call it a Royale with cheese.
A Royale with cheese. Look, guys, we will move on from this negative topic. We'll get to something a little bit more positive. But before we do, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new here. It is episode 69, dude. I'm going to do that every time. We go live Friday, 8 p.m. EST every week. I think I've got it sorted so I can go live every week. We don't have to do a pre-record. We'll see how that goes. No promises. But moving on to the next topic. Now, this is sort of folding into this Redfall topic. PC Game Pass is going to 40 new countries. Now, me and Umbra were having a conversation during topics, and we postulated how many of these countries already have console Game Pass. Well, as it turns out, the short answer is fuck all of them. So all these countries that are the 40 countries that are getting Game Pass, it's coming into PC first. Now, Clownz.
And you don't buy PCs from Xbox.
Exactly. Clownz, I'm going to jump to you, man. I'm going to ask you, like, do you see, we always knew that Xbox was sort of headed in this direction, this play anywhere on anything, with a bit of a PC focus. And I thought it would happen, maybe a generation from now or 2 generations from now, but it seems they're really hard pivoting towards PC. Do you see Xbox starting to leave consoles behind, this generation, next generation? Because all of these countries that I went through looking at the Game Pass, it's literally all of them, except for 2 of these 40 countries don't have a console Game Pass.
So, I've been one of the biggest people in this community that's been saying since 2014, right? When I used to podcast with Rand and Mooch and so many others in the community, I've been saying for a long time that Microsoft and Xbox have been looking to form a cloud platform and kind of move on from what we know as generational console gaming. Not saying that they're going to completely stop development of consoles, right? They could always license it off to third parties, or they may continue it because they're good with hardware and just have it for the hardcore fans. But at the end of things, with the way technology is moving, how fast it's moving, with 5G being great in so many places, Starlink that's getting better in different places, and Microsoft, I'm going to say this because a lot of people don't even know this, but I know this for a fact because I was allowed to disclose this. People at Microsoft sent me the press release on this. Microsoft has been working on setting up satellites across Africa, and they not only did they set up these satellites for fast internet access, but those satellites beam down to a tower, a 5G tower that then goes into a fiber optic line that they're rolling out to different communities in Africa. And why do you think they're doing all this, right? Because this is for the people. Microsoft wants to be everywhere as much as possible. And this has been their goal since about 2014. It's been in the works. It's been happening slowly. We saw it with data centers and the way they're moving out different things. So yes, Microsoft wants to be everywhere. Yes, Microsoft wants to be in the cloud. Yes, Microsoft is going to dedicate a lot of resources, research and development into making cloud gaming even faster. They're going to start putting a lot more focus on that. But I don't want to scare people that love their consoles and everybody panics. Oh no, Clownz. I heard Clownz say that Microsoft's giving up consoles. I didn't say that. I just think that there's a bigger shift in technology towards everything being in the cloud.
But Clownz,
and there's some benefits.
Do you think that all of this, everything that they're doing, and just what we've seen with Redfall, when it comes to just the games, and I love the way that Microsoft's sort of moving in this space, and it is the way of the future. Absolutely, I think we can all agree on that. But do you think at the moment it's coming at the cost of console players? Do you think that we're wearing some of this cost here?
Honestly, it's hard to say because this is where you see the other side defend the consoles really hard, right? So do I think that there's a divergence of funds maybe that would have went towards hardware development or gaming development, towards more of a cloud infrastructure? Sure, I do. I think that has happened. I think that has happened because the shareholders and investors want that, not just because of Microsoft. I think that's where the money trail goes, where bankers want it to go.
Yeah, it
I hope
is.
that answers the question.
It is, yeah, but it's a little bit disappointing to see, Cutie, that and I know, Cutie, you're sort of a little bit more PC centric these days, so it doesn't hurt you. But try to cast your mind back to when you were predominantly on console. Would you want your games taking a cost at the expense, at the expense of your games, or getting 60 FPS or getting their full feature set, so that they could bring these games to PC? Do you think that they should be focusing on console? Do you think there should be parity between the two?
Look, I think, back in 2001 when the Xbox came out, they wanted to create a console for Microsoft. And I think staying true to those roots is important. So for me, like my computer isn't the best computer. Like I actually have trouble because of the specs on it. I can't play Hogwarts Legacy on it, and I have Hogwarts Legacy on every console that currently has it available. So, there are limitations in regards to, my tech and my budget of things. Like we can't have everything. I can't afford everything, that's for sure. And I do think that people who have consoles, who love their consoles, I still love my I still love my consoles. I always play Forza on my console. I never play it on my computer. I think it should be things should be released as they're promised. I definitely agree with that, and I can definitely understand why people have their feelings. It's totally okay. But I will say, from a business point of view, Microsoft is being smart by moving a lot of things into PC Game Pass, because PCs are everywhere. They don't have to worry about supplying Xboxes to these places. So it really doesn't surprise me that some of these places don't have like the Xbox hardware, but they do have PCs. And I mean, their roots are Microsoft. It's kind of not really surprising.
Absolutely. Someone made a really good point to one of my posts on Twitter not too long ago. He said, if this is what we're doing, what was the point of this generation? Why would you even upgrade? And I don't know how to answer that question. Like, if we're not getting 60 FPS, if they're shifting towards PC, what was the point, Garuda, of getting a $750 console to play these games as next gen?
Well, I think it depends when the games are designed, what minimum spec they're based around, doesn't it? So that will dictate, ultimately what sort of features and how the game comes out in the end. But yeah, look, I think it's called Xbox for a reason, isn't it? Right? So shouldn't the focus be Xbox? I mean, look, I appreciate, I love Xbox and Microsoft's initiative of bringing the platform to more people, more countries, just opening it up and giving more people access. That's excellent. I mean, I absolutely applaud that. I have a lot of ties and connections and family in a lot of different countries and places that definitely cannot afford this tech, the high end stuff that we like to use each day. And for those guys, it's amazing, for not only for the fact that they get to participate, but also that it might inspire the next generation of game developers from places we didn't expect, which is only good for gaming. But as far as a focus on PC is concerned, like I said, I think it depends on the minimum spec that they base the games around. And at the moment, look, I'm enjoying my Series X and even my Series S for what they are. But so much of the feature set, and I don't want to dip back into too much about the previous topic, but so much about what they were, promised to do and the features that are available in them, we're not seeing it, and it makes you wonder if it was worth dropping, in Australia, $750 each system for a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X, $1,500 in total, and when you could have just put that towards a PC, if they're going to focus in that direction, and more and more, with the release of these games and seeing how they're coming out, it makes me wonder if I should have went in that direction. Yeah, look, I get it. It's about, spreading the brand, making it accessible, being inclusive, but at what cost? It's Xbox after all. It's called Xbox, right?
So-
and the Xbox is what? You can't buy an Xbox PC. It's an Xbox console. I mean, yeah, that's where I see it.
Exactly, and I think that's. I have no issue with them spreading to PC. And Kayasanti said they're not shifting to PC. PC is just easy to drop games on, and that's true. I don't want my console to be left behind, 110%. And I am one of the guys that can afford to get a PC if I want to, but I don't want to do that. I like to play on console.
Yeah.
I want to be on console.
I'm with you, and us guys, Riskit, being able to afford a good PC, but that's great and that's awesome for us. But we're in the vast minority. It is everyone knows it's super expensive to get something high end, but I don't want to be on PC. I don't particularly like it. I love the simplicity of console. I love being able to just sit down, push a button, everything's done. I really don't want to move to PC, but if my experience is going to be at the detriment for being on console, then I will be moving to PC. I just don't want to. That's all.
Absolutely.
I've seen that sentiment all over the place, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that. Not only for this, but for the Redfall situation, I've seen tons of people saying, well, I might as well get a PC. Like, if we're not getting these features and such, but PC will. Again, it's that classism thing it's kind of creating, right? But as far as this situation here, I mean, Clownz said it all well. I mean, honestly, and it's them expanding like that. I saw somebody say it was a tax, like some type of write-off, apparently, in the chat. Was it Mark? You want to expand on that, Mark? But, yeah, he said it's like I guess a tax write-off. I'm taking it. I'm sure that got some money incentive has something to do with it. I wouldn't doubt that. But no, I mean, this is smart. And like Kay said, it's kind of like Microsoft is really living up to that whole Netflix kind of thing that people put on it, right? Because they're all over the place. And many of these things, as me and you were talking about, Risk, many of these new countries, outside of 2 of them, are brand new to the ecosystem. So
And that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
is. That's excellent right there. So, much credit to Microsoft on expanding as far as that goes. It's only going to benefit all of us in the long run. I mean, as far as things, if everything takes off in sales, and that's why I'm always a proponent of Game Pass and them acquiring things, because the more that they get more subs and things of the nature and get more money, that means the 9 times out of 10 we're going to get better games out of it because of more budget being put into things, or because of them getting third-party exclusivity deals and things of that nature.
We're definitely not going to get into this whole should they acquire more conversation.
Yeah, but it's definitely a dope thing that they're expanding, and that a lot of these countries that had no access now can have a chance. And that has been an issue of Microsoft for a while now, not being in all these different territories where PlayStation has been dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this, helps get them, some shares, I suppose, if you will, of market share, and it's a positive all around.
Well, absolutely,
it is positive, and it's going to lead to Xbox. Sorry, Riskit. It's going to lead to Xbox fixing up some of their localization issues that a lot of people in Arabic-speaking nations and stuff like that in the Middle East have been very vocal about pushing for. Because at the end of the day, some of these guys can't play these games because they're not localized, and there's language barriers and everything like that. And expanding to some of these smaller countries and these new areas is gonna lead to them bringing those localization, and that's going to increase engagement.
Absolutely, and
tenfold.
it is a positive thing because it's going to bring subs to Game Pass, which is obviously going to bring more money to the service. More money in the service means hopefully more games. But this was a little bit. I'm going to visualize this for you guys on screen because this is what sort of stunned me a little bit. You'll be able to see there that the first column is Game Pass Ultimate, second column is PC Game Pass, and the third column is Game Pass for console. I'm just going to scroll down. This is what struck me, and I was a little bit like, so there's a lot of countries that you can see there that have got crosses next to their name that don't have any console Game Pass, but PC Game Pass has become available. Now, this is absolutely, there's massive positives to this, and this might just be a first step. But to me, this was pretty striking.
Second-class citizens confirmed.
I don't know,
and it was within
it
this.
Seems like
It was within this conversation that me and Umbra had in topics. It's just, It was like, wow, is console being left behind? Like, is that what's
I
happening?
don't think so. I think by virtue of the fact that a lot of people in those nations that PC Game Pass has been bought to already have PCs, so you already have a ready-made install base. Whereas if there's no Game Pass and things like that, a lot of those countries are not going to have Xbox consoles. I think that would be what Xbox's line of thinking would be.
Mhm.
The PCs are already in the homes for other reasons, and if we bring PC Game Pass there, they're ready to go. The install base, it's ready-made. I think that's where a lot of that thought process would be coming from.
Look,
Man,
absolutely.
I haven't seen
Guys,
those many
you guys-
X's. Yeah,
You
go ahead,
guys,
kid.
at the end of the day, Phil Spencer says, when everybody games, we all win.
Absolutely, and I agree. That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
As long as that the everybody's that get left behind aren't everybody on console, then I'm good with that. But look, it is absolutely a positive thing. 110%. I'd like seeing them bring their service to more people around the world so more people can play.
That's pretty dope.
I do 110% believe that this is a good thing. It just struck me. We asked the question, me and Umbra, between ourselves, like, I wonder how many of these countries have already got Game Pass on console. And when we realized that it was almost none, it was a little bit of a like, whoa.
Yeah, very surprising.
Yeah, it was super surprising. We were a bit shocked, but so I did want to bring that to light. But I don't want to pump it as a negative. It most definitely is a positive thing, and it's just going to give Xbox more revenue, which is hopefully going to bring us more games, and so that can only really be a good thing. I just hope that this narrative of console owners becoming second class doesn't come to pass, because I don't believe we're quite there yet. I do want to move on to some positive news, and I'm going to ask Clownz, because there's a lot of games coming to Game Pass, a lot of release dates coming, absolutely positive news. My question to you is, Clownz, and I don't know what you can say or what you can't say, and you can say I can't talk about it, and that's all good. But my question to you is, what do you think of Minecraft Legends, dude?
Okay, hold on. Let me check the notes here real quick, Riskit, and let me see what I can say.
Well, I mean, you could say it's
I saw
good or
some
it's bad.
people streaming it last night, so I think you may be out of your NDA.
All the reviews are out.
Yeah. All the main reviews are out. Okay, so yeah, I can talk about it because it was lifted today at 12:01 a.m. So
Perfect. We got it first here on Xbox Inventory.
Exclusive.
I gotta say this, I really enjoy it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I played a little bit with PK. Him and I both had access, so the co-op in the campaign was a lot of fun. We were able to go out and do different things. It feels like, it has a lot of Minecraft dungeon kind of feel, but with strategy built in. Wow, how do I describe that? But the campaign and the cinematics and the story are just phenomenal for what they put out in this. It runs smooth. I'm not having any issues. Everything's colorful and spriteful, just like Minecraft should be. And, you'd think that going into this, you'd be like, oh, yeah, it's a Minecraft game. It's going to be super easy. I'm having challenges, and I'm just on the regular difficulty. So there is some challenge and strategy here. It's a great game for you and your family to pick up and play. There's different mounts that you can collect throughout the overworld, as they call it, which is really cool. Like one of my favorites is a bird. It kind of floats. And then I got this beetle that crawls up trees and can crawl up everything except nether. And on top of that, there, your traditional things like that you'd be scared of in Minecraft to run away from, like creepers, zombies, the skeleton archers. They're all your friends. Like they want to hang out with you. They want to help you destroy the piglins, which is really cool. And the piglins, the mobs are not all the same either. So, a lot of times you'd expect some of these mobs all look alike, but there's different piglins. Like there's guys that shoot like missiles off their backs, and then there's guys that shoot arrows, and then they got arrow towers. And I mean, yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and you don't have to worry about playing this game with your kids. It's just perfect. Pick right up and go.
I definitely.
What if you're not someone? Sorry, go.
No, I definitely want to. I'm keen to jump into this and check it out. What's it? Is it real time strategy? Is it TTS sort of strategy? Like, can you? And here's my question. It's always my question, and I'm pretty sure it does have, but I haven't looked it up. Can you play this with a mouse and keyboard on Xbox?
That is a good question because I have not used mouse and keyboard on this. I've been using controller, so I can't answer that right off the bat without checking through, whatever information they sent over. But as far as when you think real time strategy, right? Define what your expectations are of real time strategy.
I guess real-time strategy. So real-time strategy is as you move, you're getting strategic. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Can I just
Yes.
confirm? Yes, you can. So apparently it does a fantastic job of letting you switch easily between controller and mouse and keyboard.
That's perfect for
Oh,
me.
nice.
So if you are
Yeah. Yeah, I was just
so if
Googling it too.
Cool.
Yeah, she's right.
So, Clownz, are you fully in control of your character, or are you more pulled out of the world and you're like the commander as a bird's eye view?
No, you're in control of your character. You're on the grounds, with your crew, whatever you want to call them, your little mob guys that you create. You can create different varieties too. Like there's stone guys, there's a wooden archer guys, and then as you come across your newly found allies, like the skeletal archers and the zombies and the creepers, right? You eventually get them to join your mob army, and you can create little things that spawn them near the enemy bases. It's really cool. So yeah, it's real time Riskit, as the fact that the enemies are moving at you, and then you're spawning your guys, and you're moving at them, and you're leading them like on your mount. And you could tell them to charge. You could tell them to stay back and do archery. The ones that do, that kind of stuff. So it's all real time. You're on the ground with them. You get a little sword too that you can hit things with, but it's not very fruitful against buildings. It doesn't work.
These types of games are not really for me, the genre. But I know a few people who are like really, really hyped for it. And to be clear, it's got a 73 meta on Xbox and a 68 on PC. And as I commented in the chat, we back on top, Clownz, on console.
Yeah, right.
We back in first place, everybody.
60
And
FPS, baby.
That's right. Mouse and keyboard support, sucker. No, but no, man, it's not really my genre, but I do want to give it a chance because I had came to find, like, through Game Pass, which is why I love it so much, plenty of genres I never would have, gotten into. Turn-based strategy, for instance, like that, right? Playing games through Game Pass, it actually opened my eyes to my error. You know what I mean? So I do want to give this a chance, and I got a few people who do want to play it. So I'm probably going to play it with buddies who know better than I do with this, and see how I like it myself. And to be clear, and again, it's the discourse we have around ratings and such. And I know a lot of people don't put any stock into Metacritic now because of the nonsense that's that people take from it in aggregate. But a 70 and a 70 plus meta is actually a good game. So people have to get out of that mindset of, a 70, that's bad. No, it's not. Our Hooved brothers made that a thing. 70 is actually good. So if it's a 73, that's a good game. So I do want to try this out, and I'm sure it's going to do well. Minecraft is in its own league, right? It's not beholden to a lot of the rules that a lot of these console games are. You know what I mean? And typically,
Dude, a 73 is awesome when you play it free on Game Pass.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I do want to give it a chance. It's just never been my genre, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to suck completely at it. But I do want to give it a chance.
Yeah, I've got a quick question for someone that isn't a Minecraft fan. Will this game appeal to those people? Or, do you think you could enjoy this having never really played Minecraft?
I think you can. I think you can enjoy this without being a Minecraft fan. If you are a real-time strategy fan, or like, just in general, like a strategy kind of guy, I think you'll enjoy it that way.
Oh, yeah. Cool. I am. Everything you've said, I really like the sound of it. So I think I might check it out.
Yeah, look, I'm going to check it out. It is sort of up my alley. Minecraft's not, but like I do like strategy, real-time strategy, and tactical turn-based strategy. So it is something that I'll definitely have a look at. And it's not the only thing that's coming to Game Pass. We got an announcement earlier in the week, but before I jump into that, guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share us out. We go live every Friday, 8 p.m. EST. And Cutie, I didn't actually get your thoughts on Minecraft. Are you a TTS girl, RTS girl? Would you play Minecraft? It sort of seems like a cute little real-time strategy game. Would you jump in there?
Yeah, I'm actually a trained Minecraft educator, so I'm actually really passionate about using Minecraft in teaching. So having this game in a more entertaining setting is really cool. There's a lot of strategy co-op things that I really, really enjoy about this. And yeah, this game is really up my alley. I would love to jump in there and play with you guys.
Awesome. There
Yeah,
is.
I'm down to play it if you guys want to play.
I am down. There is another game that I think, Cutie, that will be up your alley that recently got announced. And here's another thing. So Xbox isn't missing all their promises. It's not really the case. It's just the odd few, and we are calling those out, absolutely. But they are fulfilling a lot of other promises. And Ravenlok got announced that it was going to land within the 12-month window, as is the last case of Benedict Fox. But Ravenlok is, if you haven't heard it, I'll put it up on screen in a minute. It's a third-person action RPG, and it's set in an Alice in Wonderland type fantasy world.
It looks amazing.
It does look amazing. I'm actually really, really keen because I did get a chance to play, and there were some games that were coming out at the time, so I never did finish the game. But their previous game, I can't remember the name of it, which was also a pixel art game. Just chasing down the name of it now. Echo Generation was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that, and I think they've got more of a budget on this one because Echo did pretty well. So I'm super excited. And Cutie, is this something that you think you'll jump into? Alice in Wonderland inspired sort of type of world? That sort of sounds like it might be your thing.
No, you know what? I really, really, really appreciate interesting art styles in games, and this in particular looks fantastic. It's something that I think the gameplay looks really beautiful, to be honest. And yeah, I'll definitely be jumping in with this. And it comes out May 4, so 2 days before my birthday. So.
Oh, nice. Well, we know Shiz is not getting you a present. But look, I do want to go to the panel because this has got a really sort of a Zelda feeling type like gameplay set to me, and it really appealed to me. Echo Generation was mechanically sound. The gameplay wasn't dragging me in. Like, it was a good game and I could see how people would like it, but it was smooth, mechanically sound. It was technically sound. And I thought that it was a studio that could really do great things, and it looks like they're going to. Umbra, is this going to be a game that you're going to jump into when it drops on May 4th?
Yeah, absolutely. When they showed the showcase of this last year, it actually looked pretty good. I mean, it's colorful. The character, the way the movement, everything looks like it's a good loop. You're right. It has a bit of a Zelda-esque kind of feel to it from what you can kind of see. Yeah, man, I'm all for it. I love these types of games. So yeah, it looks pretty interesting. It looks kind of like it's going to be like a boss rush kind of game, you know, to a degree. Like you're just going to be fighting boss after boss wave or something. Not after, but like you're going to roam around, do some platforming, and then fight another boss. That's what it seems like. But it looks really interesting. It'll probably end up being probably a 15-hour game or something like that, or 8-hour game or something. But I like the way it looks. So definitely.
Absolutely. And I would ask Garuda, but he is the man that embodies the pony narrative of Xbox gamers do not buy games. So if it's coming to Game Pass, I know that he's going to play it. Garuda?
If it's on Game Pass and it's half decent, I'll play. If you want me to pay, man, it better be good. But let's just say this. The game looks pretty good. Very interesting. It does have a little bit of Zelda vibes and stuff, which is up my street. But I'm not gonna lie, it did look, and we can pause on this. It looked a little stiff. The animations looked a little bit stiff in places, but I will check it out because it is on Game Pass. But the other thing I'm gonna say is I got a little bit mixed up, and I got a tad bit disappointed when I saw the release date trailer because I thought it was Flintlock, not Ravenlok. I really think Flintlock looks extra cool, and I got them mixed up because they showed them both at the same showcase last year. The names are very similar. They're both supposed to release in the same sort of part of the year, but it looks like Flintlock is going to be another one to miss the 12-month window. But yeah, regardless, I'm going to check out Ravenlok anyway. I like game. It's got a vibe I like. It is nice and colorful. It's got that little bit of a Zelda vibe, but yeah, where's Flintlock? Like, where's that? That's what I want.
I think they pushed it back a bit, right? Wasn't it pushed back?
Yeah.
But that's one of the games I had as my top 3 that I was most hyped for after the showcase. That, Benedict Fox, and I believe Starfield was still at the top.
Yeah, Benedict Fox looks amazing. I think, like you said before, Riskit, sorry, and I don't mean to go off track too much. Xbox hasn't completely stuffed up that 12-month window. A lot of the games are still coming out, but I think the problem is most of the big ones and some of the more anticipated ones, those are all missing, and that's what's a little bit disappointing. But yeah, bring it on. Game Pass is the best. What can I say?
Yeah, look, I don't think they've completely missed, the mark.
They haven't. No,
No.
just the big ones.
I just think it was, maybe they sort of had to do something, and maybe that wasn't the thing to do, right? But they've done it, and we're getting a lot of these games. And at the end of the, I mean, I hate when people say this, but there's so much to play. Like, there absolutely is. That's not the point. But there is, as a positive, completely removing the 12-month window, so much to play. We got Benedict Fox, we got Ravenlok. There's a lot coming, and there was another game announced as well that I don't know if you guys got a chance to check this out. This is one that Umbra pointed out to me, and it looks really, really cool. It's coming from EA. It's an EA original, and it's called, I think it's Mortals of Avium. Now, this was absolutely amazing. I do have it up on screen now. It looks very Avowed in nature. Umbra, you got a chance, obviously, to check it out. It's good. It's just good to see we're getting. I have a thing about this generation. We really haven't been seeing a lot of new IPs, and this is a new IP. We don't know if it's going to be good, but I like these companies trying new things, trying new IPs. Hopefully, it's not a live service game. What did you think of it? I was a little bit stunned that it was a first-person shooter, but magic based. I don't know how I feel about it. It looks amazing graphically, but obviously that can be fooling with a CGI trailer. Umbra, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you're kind of right. And the heavy focus on the CGI, that guy looking like Sauron or something they're facing, it was interesting, but it did give you the Avowed kind of vibes a bit with how they cast their magic and stuff like that. Loving the CGI cutscenes, though. They look really dope.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say from the gameplay we saw, I do hope Avowed is not quite like this, but a bit better. But man, from what I saw, I mean, first and foremost, I wouldn't be me if I didn't point out this was Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah,
so I got to get that out of the way. You know what I mean? So it's going to look visually gorgeous, right? Yeah, chat. I said it. Unreal Engine 5, baby. So you got that. They basically called it a Call of Duty without guns. So that's interesting. So I wonder how that will play out. It's supposed to be a 25-hour long campaign, so it's got some meat to it. I'm wondering if they're probably going to add DLC later. I'm pretty sure they will. So spells act like they can act like long-range rifles, shotguns, etc. And you see a lot of the actors they have in it too. It definitely gives you the particle effects and everything like that. It looks really nice. I'm interested in that. The combat is fast-paced, as you can see. It kind of gives you a little bit of the Doom vibes. Doesn't it, Risky? You see how they move? They're moving around.
Yeah, well, Joanna Dark just said in the chat, he said, this is like the Heretic game I always wanted. And yeah, I remember Heretic, and this does seem like it's...
Yeah.
I remember Heretic.
Yeah. And you see the little lasso thing they just did. And that is kind of all the rage now, having that grapple shot-like thing. You know what I mean? So I'm liking it, man. I'm liking what I see. It's gorgeous as hell. So, and you can because Unreal Engine 5, and it seems like it's a big open world. So I'm hoping that it turns out good and turns out well. It was with EA, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some type of microtransactions at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even rule that out. It's going to happen. Yeah. So, but other than that, I'm hyped for it.
Absolutely. What are you thinking about this one, Clownz? Is it something that's up your alley?
Sorry about that. My dog was barking. Which one is this?
Immortals of Avium should be up on your screen right about now. It's sort of a first-person shooter, action, sort of magic, Lord of the Rings meets Heretic meets Call of Duty type game. Looks beautiful.
This one I haven't looked into at all. I haven't even seen any trailers for it. So I'm ashamed on this one, Riskit. I am not prepared for this one. That's my fault.
Yeah, did I drop it in the topics? I did. Yes. No, I didn't.
Yes.
Cutie, what'd you think of that? I know you just got a chance to watch it now.
No, that looked. No, I watched it before. It was fantastic. The new mechanics in these FPS games are just great. Like I'm it's so much fun adding variety and intricate stories and all that kind of stuff. It just really, really, really makes it a wonderful time to be a gamer. Like some of the effects are just mind blowing and yeah, amazing. And it looks fantastic in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, it does. It does look fantastic in Unreal Engine 5, but I think that is an engine that should be scrapped immediately.
No.
And it should be blown up.
Mark said it looks a lot like Resident Evil 4 to him.
Yeah, right. In looks wise,
Maybe
yeah,
the
with quality wise.
The
does,
character
yeah, it does,
styles.
Yeah. Garuda, what are you thinking? You gonna jump into this one?
Yeah, look, I was watching Boom's show earlier, and he was waxing lyrical about this game. Prior to that, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of it, but I watched the gameplay, that trailer that you just showed. He put it up on his show, and he was waxing lyrical about it. He thought it looked amazing, and it did. It just come out of nowhere for me personally. Interestingly, I think it might have been the developers themselves have kind of likened it akin to Doom mixed with Call of Duty, which sounds incredibly cool, but the aesthetic of the game suggests, something more like an RPG or something. It's very unique to mix sort of fast-paced shooting action with hand gestures and stuff like that, and mixing it
I'm
Doom
so
and
here
Call
for
of
it.
Duty together. It's so unusual and unique. And just for that alone, I think you could be excited for it. It definitely doesn't really look too much like anything else. The heretic reference is quite apt. I think that does look a little bit like that. It brings that to mind. But yeah, look, I'd hope that it's a little bit deeper than what the gameplay showed, as far as gameplay elements, because it literally just looks like an out-and-out shooter. But the game world and the aesthetic looks like it could be more like an RPG, doesn't it? So, yeah, I like the look of it, and it looks pretty, but I'm interested to see more about the gameplay mechanics, to be honest. So, yeah, that's
absolutely. And I think when it comes to EA, you've got to take everything with a bit of pinch of salt and a shot of penicillin, because that thing could be filled with loot boxes. So we don't know. We don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Don't get too excited, but it looks good from now, and I think staying positive about these things. Yes, Bobby, you are touching a nerve. Staying positive about these things is definitely a way to be. As Cutie would say, it's a vibe. But we do have to move on to the next topic. But before we do, please hit the like button, share us out, tell your grandmother, tell your kids, tell your wife, tell everyone. Flick to Xbox Infinite Fridays, 8 p.m. EST. If you're in America. If you're in Australia, it's 11-ish on the East Coast. Moving on, back to another, depends on how you're looking at negative, positive topic. Ubisoft Plus is come to Xbox. Now listen, people are going to probably weird out about this. I didn't expect it to be bundled. So at no point did I think that they were going to bundle this. Ubisoft's MO is about making that money, man. They're about selling those games, making that money. That's they're still stuck in the traditional model. And I think that this subscription thing is just a side thing for them. I just could not see them bundling, and I couldn't see them coming to an agreement, Xbox and Ubisoft, over what was fair. I bet Ubisoft just dug their heels in and said, yep, $17 and we'll go into Game Pass and we get $17 of that profit. I never thought. So I'm not disappointed, right? And here is the thing. So if you've played all the Ubisoft games, which I have played most, that is obviously not attractive to you. And I get that. Now, if they drop a new game, here's the thing. Instead of you having to go and pay $70 for that game, if you have the time to get that subscription, that gives you 2 months in Australia. Yeah, 2 months, 3 months in Australia to play and complete that game for the same price. 2 months, it's going to be cheaper if you play and complete that game. So if you could look at this on a plus side, now, I know everyone wanted it bundled, and I get it, and I'm going to go to the panel, and I'm betting that you guys did, and I get that. I do get it, but I never expected it to be bundled. I never expected the price to go down. I just sort of know Ubisoft's MO, so it hasn't disappointed me. I do think it sucks. I would love to see it in Game Pass, but look, I think take it as a positive. Garuda, I'm just going to go straight to you and see what did you think was going to happen? you think this is about right? This is what was going to happen, and you're not too disappointed, or you think this is bullshit and they should be dropping in Game Pass some day and dates?
Well, of course, everybody would have loved to have had that bundled in with their Game Pass Ultimate subscription, but I think this is exactly what we all truly expected, right? It is Ubisoft after all, and to think that Xbox might have footed the bill and come up with some sort of a deal with them and bundle it into Game Pass Ultimate, that was more just wishful thinking, right? For me, I would have rathered it that way, of course, but for me, it's not disappointing per se because I generally don't play Ubisoft's games. I'm very burnt out on their formulaic sort of format that template that they use for their games. Like, for example, last night I started Ghostwire Tokyo, and the first part of the game, it was extremely interesting, it was really engaging, it was something different, and then suddenly the map exploded with icons and little arrows telling me what to do, where to go, what to collect, and that's for me personally, I'm burnt out on that stuff. It's been done to death. That's why I don't play their games. However, there is the odd one I would like to play, and like you said, when they do drop a new game, we can just sub up, and it's going to cost a hell of a lot less if you want to play that game, and then you can just unsub. Like it's more options, and more options the better. A lot of their games are very popular, so you can only herald this as a great thing. But just for me personally, Ubisoft has to come out with something a little bit more fresh, a little more unique, to get me to sub up for this. I think I'll do it on a case-by-case basis, depending on their release cadence, sort of like you alluded to. But for now, happy it's there, but I won't be touching it with a 10-foot stick.
I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like especially at that price point.
Yep.
At that price point, it's like, nah. You
right,
all
when
already,
you consider that they come in,
Yeah.
Their monthly price is higher than Game Pass.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you look at it from that perspective, it looks very unattractive.
Agreed.
And it really puts into perspective just how good Game Pass is. Doesn't it really? So
It does. And just to say, I mean, like Panda just pointed out in the chat, she says her bank account has subscription fatigue. I'm in that boat. I'm subscribed to too many things I don't even really use.
yeah.
So
100%.
I'm in that same boat. What about you guys, Clownz and Cutie? Where you stand on this situation?
Look, I think I never expected it to be bundled with Game Pass. I know, ideal world, got my Game Pass Ultimate subscription, it's going to go up maybe like $5, and then I can access all these games, and you don't really feel $5 a month. But yeah, I will say there's a lot of subscriptions out there, and this move to subscription-based game services, I think for maybe it's just a generational thing, but us older gamers, I do like to own my games. I do like to try games as well. So but I can't have my cake and eat it too. So I'll probably, from a case-by-case basis, be a subscriber. As I have been working with Ubisoft, so we'll see how beneficial the subscription is to me as being part of their program. But yeah,
Don't forget to hook us up.
Look, I think moving forward, so for example, the new game that I played last night was so much fun, and I really hope that they move more into that sort of I hope that they can experience success in that area, because they've been really, really successful with Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and I think if you guys are a fan of those types of games, I think you're going to have a great time. And moving forward, we've got a lot of things to look forward to in regards to Assassin's Creed, if you're a big fan of that, the Far Cry series, all of that. There's so much choice out there, and I think it's okay if you can't subscribe to everything. It's okay, but
but
you
this
can
is just
cancel.
another option, and that's good.
Options
Yeah,
are
and you
always
can and you can cancel this at any time. So I think it's beneficial for everyone. So.
Yeah. The only way I would say that it would be a negative is if many of you played these games already. So if you're new to these games, much like the whole situation with The Last of Us, when I was telling people don't get that, this is like the third one they done of this, Well, if you haven't played it, then yeah, it makes perfect sense for you. So if a lot of
Absolutely.
these games coming on, yeah, absolutely, it makes some sense to subscribe to it. I still think the price point is ridiculous comparatively, like you pointed out. You know, when you look at Game Pass and then you look at that,
Mm.
you know. But yeah,
There's two other reasons why I would stay away from it, apart from the fact that I generally don't play their games. And that is that Ubisoft's games reduce in price very quickly. That's the first thing. And the second thing is a lot of Ubisoft's games, after not too long, end up on Game Pass anyway. Like, for example, we've got most of the recent Assassin's Creed games are there. There's a whole bunch of fairly recent games from Ubisoft that are on Game Pass already.
True.
And
we've got
you know,
them, and we've got most of them, Garuda. We played through these things.
that's right. So look, I'm happy to sub up for a service as long as
Yeah.
they can make it compelling enough. It's got to be
Yeah, and
compelling, and then I'll sub
I
up. But
think
at the moment, it's just not.
I think
So
I reckon if they moving forward, if they move into things like, Splinter Cell, you guys are gonna be all
yeah,
up in that, and
for
you guys are
sure.
gonna be
Yep,
playing that. So I think
that's where it's a good thing.
this is potentially a soft launch for some exciting games. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, I can
Absolutely,
I can
Jimmy,
100
and they lose nothing.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that. I think it gives me an option to say, hey, they've just dropped Splinter Cell, or they've just dropped X Defiant, or they've just dropped. I'm going to check it out, and it's only going to cost me $17. And if I like it, then and that's the one game I'm playing, and I know I'm going to play this game for more than 3 months. Then I could go out and buy it. So look, it's a good thing. It's I sort of look at it as you can sort of trial the full game and see how you go. And if it's a single player game, I'll likely beat that game and then unsubscribe. If it's a multiplayer game, I'll likely go out and buy that game. And as a business decision, as a company, that's a great thing. Huggy did mention as well in the chat, and welcome Huggy. It's always great to see you in the chat, mate. Huggy did mention that Ubisoft Plus supplies you get all the DLC for these games. And I haven't completed the DLC of Valhalla, so I may even sub up just to get through that DLC and then jump back out of it again, because I did 100% the original game when it dropped. Clownz, how are you looking at this, man? Are you looking at this like a good thing or a bad thing?
Listen, the way that you felt about Redfall? Well, that's the way I feel about this. I think, man, I think Ubisoft's doing a cash grab here, because Ubisoft games usually within 3 to 6 months, they drastically drop in price down to like 20 something for some of these deluxe editions. So they're charging you 17 a month, which is the price of one of their games that would drop in 6 months. And you might not even want to play half the games in their service, or you might already own half the games in their service. So I think starting at the price point they're doing is kind of steep. I understand their mindset that they want to make money, and they are having some issues lately, and they have a library that could do it if a lot of people don't own their stuff. And I think it's about the money for them, man. I really wish, and like you had said, Umbra, I really wish it would have been bundled with Game Pass, but we kind of knew
Absolutely.
it wasn't going to happen, because Ubisoft wants to make money on this, and they're not going to take a subsidized rate at a loss when they have a decent library. We can't say it's a bad library. They got a pretty good library out there.
They do. You know what? I want to ask you then, Clownz, because it's interesting to me about this, because you see EA, you see what they did with EA Play. Now, EA has come out and said this has been beneficial to them. They've come out on record saying this, and EA has a vast, diverse, list of games, much more diverse, I would say, overall than Ubisoft, lately at least. So, if it's beneficial to them, I wonder why Ubisoft is not getting on board with that, or it floated to them. I'm pretty sure it was, but I'm wondering why this was a no-go for them, especially with a lot of the recent troubles they've had, versus EA getting on board with it.
Well, I think there's a difference of problem here. I think with EA, their library started getting devalued to an extent, right? Like, you used to be able to go into GameStop, and how many Maddens did you see like in the dollar bin, because there were just so many that people returned, and then people wouldn't buy the new one; they would just pick up the used one for a couple bucks. So their library was going down in value, and EA saw it as a stepping stone to say, "Hey, let's get people back into our library." And Game Pass is the perfect opportunity. We'll sell some DLC, offer some discounts in there, and it worked for them. I think with Ubisoft, they don't have that same problem where their library is getting devalued as quickly as EA was. It's more about, if you're a Ghost Recon fan or if you're a Rainbow Six fan rather than EA. Most people that played EA games lately were more into the sports franchises.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And Riskit, you want to read that, what you highlighted from Mr. Joe in the Dark?
Absolutely. Joe in the Dark made a very good point. He said PlayStation Plus higher tier has Ubisoft Plus. Could it be that Sony cut a deal to get that service into their service for a period of time? And that's highly possible. Hargeet backed that up with pretty sure Sony would lock it to PS Plus. And we know that they do this. So it may be a case. We heard about Ubisoft Plus coming for Sony before. We heard about Xbox, and we heard about this a long time ago, and I think they were inking deals back when I was in Spain. I think we were doing a show from Madrid, if you remember, Umbra. It was a long time ago, and it's taken a while to ink this deal, and I think they could be onto something there. There's a bit of a back and forth. We know that Sony has some extremely anti-competitive, dodgy business practices, and this could be one of them.
Yeah, no, and you're right. We have been talking about this for a long while, floating the idea of Ubisoft Plus being added to Game Pass. So it's interesting now that it's taking this place. But I think that makes the most sense. And we've all seen when Sony is concerned in contracts and deals with other people, third parties at least, Xbox is excluded. So that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Exactly right. And Bobby Hawk points out that all the Doom games are coming free onto PlayStation Premium. And that's just another example of Microsoft, providing games to players everywhere. And that's why the ABK deal should go through, Bobby Hawk. And thank you. I just want to say on air, thank you very much for beta testing Sifu. That is a great game. And I'm glad all the bugs are worked out. And we finally got it over on Xbox, in its best state, at the best place to play. We will move on from this topic to the next topic. And it is actually a very Sony-centric topic. And listen, before I do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday, 11 a.m. in Australian Eastern Standard Time. Sony State of Play happened. I don't know if you can call this a Sony State of Play. I think you should call this a Square Enix State of Play. And it seems to be the way with State of Play lately, that they are pumping out third-party games. We haven't heard much. This might be an effect of the ABK deal. We haven't heard much from their first party. So I'm very interested to see what's going on with Spider-Man 2. But what we got this week was Final Fantasy gameplay. Look, I'm not a big fan of Final Fantasy. I sort of let go after the original 7. And it just got weird for me. And I know some people like that sort of thing, but I personally don't. It looked pretty good. Graphically, I felt it was underwhelming. CGI was great, but the actual, from what it looked like, was gameplay. It's just not my type of game, so anything I say is going to be very negative, in fairness, I think. Cutie, did you get a chance to check out the State of Play? What were your thoughts on Final Fantasy? Is the JRPG something that you get into, or...?
Look, I have not jumped into Final Fantasy before. Although I did watch it. It looks beautiful, but the world is so... I feel like I'm too late to the party. Does anyone else feel that way?
Yeah, well, that's another issue I have with Final Fantasy. That each one is a standalone. So I didn't know that until probably about a year ago. But each one is a standalone, so they don't continue on the story from the last one. No. So I felt that way as well, Cutie, absolutely. But that also bothers me because it's not a carry-on story. So it's very... And I don't get that.
They do sequels to individual games, but the whole universe isn't connected as such.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit weird to me that they do that. I mean, like, then each game should be... Isn't Final Fantasy... I mean, each game is Final Fantasy, but it isn't Final Fantasy because it's a totally different sort of story. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I really find it hard to get down with it. So, Cutie,
we have so many universes, and with this universe, there happens to be a lack of melanin. I wonder how.
Was another. That was another comment. There was the variation in characters. There's just none there, and people were sort of wondering why.
There's a complete lack of diversity. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's no sun in this world and people don't tan at all.
Maybe.
It's odd.
It's strange because
I do
Yeah.
want to go to Umbra on that. Like, what were your thoughts on the comments from the developers about that? That was
It was
shit.
stupid.
Yeah.
It was dumb as hell. Like, and I've said this on a few podcasts. Shout out to 108 Dragons, aka Lemon. I was on his podcast for myself, him, PK, and gave him the righteous smoke for it. And the same with other podcasts, including myself, my own podcast yesterday. We talked about it. It was a dumbass comment that the guy made, and mostly because it's I feel like he wasn't purposely being what's the word I want to use here?
Insensitive.
Insensitive. Yeah, that's a good way. He wasn't purposely doing it. It was more of ignorance and not knowing what he was talking about than anything else. And, I think that is prevalent even here in America because a lot of black people didn't even really know that, yeah, we were there back then. We were there. We were there back then for 2,000 years, in fact, by that point. So his statement was just not only nonsensical, it was factually incorrect. You know what I mean? And hell, the Moors even ran Europe for a while. So he was definitely wrong there when it comes to that. And I think it should have been not only on him, but to the PR people to be like, to correct that immediately. And it's something that could have been adjusted, just to say. They could have easily made any of these NPCs black. It's not going to hurt the game if they did. You know what I mean? Oh, there goes the neighborhood. You got a black NPC. You would have been fine. You know what I mean? So I don't think that would have been a problem. His statement was just really stupid. And it hurt a lot of the views of the game for that reason. Now, I'll say this, and I said it on mine as well, on my podcast. The game looks phenomenal. Visually, it's gorgeous. I love the way the world looks. And the action, more than anything, is just, it calls to me because I am a big Devil May Cry fan. You all have heard me speak on Hi-Fi Rush and how I love that so much because of its basically being a rhythmic Devil May Cry. The action in this is literally the director of it, of the combat. And again, I believe the game director in general is Yoshida, and he was obviously the combat designer in Devil May Cry. So it looks phenomenal in that way, So I am hyped for it. I doubt that I'll get it at launch because again, I do not support $70 games. And you all might say, well, you got some games that were that. I did not pay $70 myself. I did a half and half thing. I refuse on principle to pay $70 for a game. And I know people will like, well, it used to be like that in Nintendo. You're not changing my mind, okay? So, but anyway, it looks really good to me. I think a lot of people are trying to downplay it. I don't think you need to do that. It looks gorgeous. Combat looks spectacular. And I think it's going to be a good game, honestly. Some I saw, I had a back and forth with somebody on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh, I think it's going to challenge, Zelda and Starfield." I think it's going to be a great game. It's not challenging those games. It's not. Let's get that correct. It's not challenging either of those games for Game of the Year. It's just not going to happen. In my honest opinion, Zelda, I think, and Starfield are going to be in a class of their own when it comes to Game of the Year, personally. But the game does look good. I'll just say that to land my plane.
I did see somewhere. Someone said that the combat looks like diarrhea Christmas lights. I don't know.
Damn.
That is
There are a lot
exactly
of particle effects.
exactly how I see it as well. Clownz, are you a Final Fantasy fan? Is it something that you maybe go to the dark side for?
Absolutely not. I think these games are, not to offend anyone out there that love them, because I know there's a lot of people that do. Sorry, PK. I know you love it, but it's just not a series for me. I find them very boring. I put them on, and the first 5 minutes of the cutscene, I just want to fall asleep. It has nothing to do the platform it's on or anything. It's just not for me, man. So I'm not excited about anything Final Fantasy.
Yeah, no, neither me. I really can't say much good because, yeah, that's. I think it's a tired. I think they should need to. I think it's a tired formula. They've been doing it too long. And I also have a bit of a bone with Square Enix. I don't like the way that
you say you got a boner with them. What you say?
No, I did not say. There was
whoa,
no ER.
whoa.
Episode
69.
69.
Episode 69, dude. No, look, I got a bit of a bone to pick with them. I don't like Square. I don't like the way they behave. They're not on a platinum level for me yet. But my thoughts on Platinum are fuck Platinum. Square Enix hasn't quite hit that level, but it's not far off. The way that they've treated Western studios, the way that they've excluded Xbox,
Yeah.
the deals that
I
they've
agree
made
with you
with PlayStation. I really have little respect. They have changed their leader. They have changed their director and CEO. So
That had to happen.
we might see some change come from that. But for me, it's not a thing. Garuda, I know that you refuse to buy games in general. So what's the likelihood of you ever playing Final Fantasy?
Well, it's a bittersweet one for me, Final Fantasy 16, because I am a long-time diehard fan of Final Fantasy, which means to say that I do not like the look of this game. Because if you are an old school fan of Final Fantasy, you'll know that this is not Final Fantasy. It's just Final Fantasy in name and a few enemy-looking monster characters and stuff, and that's about it. You know, and I know there's that huge debate between the old school turn-based open world secret finding airship riding Final Fantasy lovers like myself and those that want to see it evolve into something different. I get it, but why not just make it a spin-off of Final Fantasy or give this game a different name? It plays nothing like the original Final Fantasy games that I love and adore. And ever since Square Enix has basically been a part of the conversation, when many moons ago Squaresoft was merged with Enix, they've just gone downhill. Look, for me, the last true Final Fantasy was 10. That was 20 years ago. I enjoyed the remake. I really did enjoy the remake for what it was. I did like the combat. It didn't have to be turn-based. It doesn't have to be turn-based, but it does have to be an open world RPG narrative adventure. It's got to have airships. It's got to have the original Final Fantasy tropes. And these games are just so far removed from that that it's not Final Fantasy to me. And look, that doesn't mean I'm going to cap and say that the game doesn't look good. It does look good. The visuals are good. The combat looks flashy and smooth and fun.
Yeah.
But why don't I go play God of War or Devil May Cry or something? if I wanna play
Because
games
you
like that?
can't. Because you can't be a cute cat girl in those games. That's the reason.
That's right.
Right.
That's right,
I
Garuda.
don't-
Now correct
yeah.
yourself. No, by the way, Jason B says, isn't a Garuda from Final Fantasy 2?
Oh, he's the Garudas are in a lot of different games. In fact, I was there's one in Ghostwire Tokyo. There's some in Breath of the Wild.
Really?
They're in, yeah, they're in a lot of different games.
And it's
Absolutely.
it's a
Yeah.
Balinese.
Oh, it's not just Balinese. It's a sort of a
Y'all say it's
deity
a
type.
baloney, huh? Oh, that's interesting.
No.
Balinese
It's a deity.
is a country. It's not a
Yeah.
country. Is it a country? Yeah, it's a. Is it a state?
What the Garuda is? It's a protector of their beliefs and stuff like that. But I don't want to get into religion and all that stuff. at the
No,
moment. But
explain
yeah,
it to us fully. No, I'm joking.
Garuda is a protector of the doctrine, basically.
yeah. Okay.
It's a god, a deity. Yeah. Anyway,
Protector of
but-
doctrines.
I
yeah,
will
look,
I will say, Garuda, I've heard other people who are like diehard Final Fantasy fans say almost
Yeah.
word for word what you said. So I know it's not just some single sentiment. I know you must really feel what you're saying, and all of you all
Oh,
do, because you all have been lock and step in that thought.
It was my favorite franchise. I was playing them ever since I can remember.
Yeah.
I love them all, all of them, the Super Nintendo all the way through, all the whole PlayStation 1 and 2 era, and it just completely changed. It's nothing. There is not one semblance that ties it to its original roots. Nothing.
I got to
And
get you to
that's-
help me with Final Fantasy 9.
Well,
I got that.
that's what I mean by
Funny, that's the only one I haven't played.
Well, it should be called something else. They should.
It should be called something else.
Yeah.
Or if you want to have it in the same universe and you want to use those same characters, just call it Final Fantasy such and such as a spin-off title. That's cool.
Mhm.
But don't mainline it. Give me real Final Fantasy, please.
Mhm.
That's
Follow on.
please.
I believe it was 9. There was someone said 9 is where the story sort of stopped. Is that right? Is that correct? I'm not.
Well, no. That was none. There were no games that tied back in those days. None of the game stories tied together. The universes were not connected. Sorry, at all.
Yeah.
One
yeah.
through to 9, they were not connected. 10 was the first one to have a sequel. There was 10 and 10-2, and then there was also now we have. They're getting multiple sequels. 13 had multiple sequels. 13 was an absolute disaster. That for me, because Final Fantasy were that good, you could count on them being so good that it was a day one buy without looking at reviews. That's how good they were. They were amazing. They were the premier franchise in my opinion. But 13 was the last one I did that with. They were
quality. But I heard that too, even with the whole Squaresoft thing, and but before they united with them and emerged, that's what really took it down after that. The quality.
It did take it down. It did take it down. They had a lot of guys that left and got moved onto other projects. From 10, they went to 11, which was the first one of the MMOs, which took a long time to really get going, and it was not really good. 12 was a huge departure, or quite a big departure from the original formula. 13 was just a disaster. It released on all platforms, which was awesome. It was the last Final Fantasy game that I purchased. Sight unseen, review unseen, and I was just like, what is this? And then they made a 13.2, a 13.3. They doubled down on their shitness. They really did. And then
on their shitness.
They were down with that shitness. They tripled down on it, and it was just horrible. And the only Final Fantasy in the last 20 years that was any good was 7 Remake.
Yeah, look, and I haven't played the 7 Remake, and I actually could, because I am a subscriber to PS Plus, but I'm scared to turn on my PlayStation because of the amount of dust, and I think it'll probably melt the CPU. So
it's a true fire hazard.
It is a true fire hazard, and I am now a HSE, so you got to be careful with these things. Look, we are going to move on to the next topic. Before I do, guys, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We did talk a lot about Redfall at the start of the show for guys that have joined us and said that 60 FPS is not acceptable. We did talk about it. I won't go back into that. I do want to move on to something else, though. Very, very interesting. Now, this is Phil Spencer had an interview earlier in the week, and his shelf came to the fore once again. On the back of his shelf, if you look very, very closely, and I will hunt down the video and see if I can bring it up on screen and pause it, he had what seemed to be a console, or it could be Keystone. Very interesting, because I believe Phil Spencer said recently that they had let Keystone go. So this could be really anything, right? This could be a mid-gen refresh. This could be a Series S Slim. This could be just about really anything to do with the console space. I'm sort of leaning on the fact that I think this might be a Series S Slim, just from the look of it. And I do have it coming up on screen.
Pick of it up at all? Yeah.
I do have it coming up on screen. And if you look just above his right-hand shoulder, you can see it all blurry-like. There's something up there. And it doesn't look like it plugs into the back of a TV as a Keystone would. It's got a USB on the right. It's got the Xbox on button on the left. This is pretty interesting. Umbra, what did you think?
Well, they did say that they... Sorry, go on.
No, jump in, Garuda. What do you think?
No, just quickly, I find it hard to believe if it is the Keystone, because last time when Phil addressed that, he said that we've basically, pardon the pun, put that on the shelf for a while. They basically more or less scrapped it for the time being. So I don't think it's a Keystone or a streaming device.
If you all don't put a bunch of tomatoes in there for Garuda right now in that chat, he said, you got to give him his tomatoes.
Let me jump to Clownz. Actually, Clownz. You actually know Phil? Has he said anything? No. But look, what do you think this is? We know that Phil has a propensity for putting things up on his shelf just to get the community talking. I really do think he knows what he's doing, and I know he loves it. So Clownz, what do you think? Do you think this might be a Series S Slim? Do you think it's a Keystone? Do you think it might be next gen refresh? Is that what we're moving into?
Wow, I'm looking at this because I didn't even see this, right? And Phil does love to put stuff on his shelf. He loves to drive people crazy. Honestly, guys, throw some tomatoes at me, but that looks like a Wii in the background. No, I don't know, man. Riskit, that's a good question. I don't think it's the Keystone. I think it's too big to be Keystone.
I'm gonna throw a curveball in here.
Okay.
Last year, Xbox ran a competition in December, and Xbox have been releasing quirky little versions of their consoles, like, for example, the Series X fridge, that kind of thing. But last year in December, they released a competition for a cassette player in the shape of a Series S. Now, I have a feeling it's that. I don't think it's a Keystone. I think he obviously, if I was Phil Spencer and I was running those competitions and I thought something was really cool, I would have one for myself. But I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's a prototype for anything. I think it's just that.
Well, Doomy, you actually may be right, because there was a joke. I think and I might be wrong. I think it was Jez that made a joke, or somebody on Twitter. They made a joke about a Series S toaster, and maybe that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
If they
So
bring
I
out a
know-
damn Series S toaster,
Yeah, no,
our
I
Who's
have
brothers are
seen
going to be
it.
on our ass about that.
Like, honestly, I think all these little things that they bring out are so much fun, and I think it's fueling the fire, keeping it real, keeping it fresh. I think he's realizing how iconic his shelves are now, so yeah, why not throw some curveballs in there?
Well, I think he's known for a long time, but when you look at that, you can see the top of it. It doesn't look
Yeah,
like
the top of the cassette.
It doesn't
The top
look.
of the cassette player had it.
It doesn't look like it. Looks smooth to me. It's got a USB on the right, so it's going to need power, right?
Yeah.
It could be a toaster. It's possible. But I think I saw that Series S toaster, and I was like, I
I know you don't believe me about the cassette player, but it really did exist.
It did, yeah. Albert Dankwa actually has one, and he works for Xbox.
Wait, so I can be clear. Are you all talking about that white thing next to the green controller at the top?
That's the
Yes.
one.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Isn't that the streaming device that they were going to come out with?
No, see, Keystone he put on the shelf. Again, pun.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not it. And he did have something in the background that was actually Keystone that was pulled up, and he said, "Yeah, it was. That was
Right,
Keystone,
I
but we
remember
put it
that.
on the shelf." But this is not that, because that's not how the Keystone looked, and it looks bigger. It looks like a Series S Slim.
Now, to be fair though, remember when he put that up, the team were like mad, quotation marks, at him for doing so. I'm sure they knew, but they were saying that was an older model. So this could just be a newer, more modern model of the Keystone.
But
Just
it's
throwing it out there.
But it's big,
Well,
right?
it could be.
It's very big.
Relatively.
I mean,
Relatively.
Imagine if it's
Yeah.
an external attachment for the Series S to bring the specs up.
That's a good. That could be interesting.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
something?
Wouldn't that be a
Mm.
way to address these internal problems that developers are supposedly having with the S? What if it's like what's lacking in it is it's the CPU, it's the RAM that's lacking. What if it's external RAM for the Series S?
Could be external
External
GPU.
tools.
Yeah. It
Yep,
could be.
external GPU. It could be. It could be something because it really fits in line with the design language of the Series S, like you guys have
It
mentioned.
does.
It could be
Yeah.
something. Maybe I'll put the tinfoil hat on. I'm going to say that's what it is.
That's like you went out there with it. I
Wow.
think still it could possibly be the Keystone, just a more modern realized version of, or at least I guess not modern, but what's the word? They say alpha, and what's the other one? Risk when it's closer to being finished. The beta. So yeah,
But well, look, here's
maybe
the
it's a
thing.
beta version.
There's no
That would be
point.
like a Zeta.
Zeta. There's no point having a cloud streaming, what's that Google Chrome type. There's no real point because they already stream, right? And like you were talking about, Clownz, they're setting up infrastructure for that. So if it is a Keystone, the reason it might be so large is because it could be a hardware assisted cloud gaming device. Now that would be interesting.
So let me add on to that, Riskit. What if that is a Series S revision, but it's more based on a cloud streaming device, and optionally later on, maybe you could buy a disk drive for it?
Simba, I'll just answer. That is a great question. Yeah, I think, look, this kind of takes us into the realm of do we believe the Series S is a potato? But then, in answer to your question, that's a Witcher sword. He got that.
Yeah,
Witcher,
that's old.
he got that a while ago. And that's when we thought we were going to get a Witcher game in Game Pass or something, but it didn't happen.
Actually, I don't even think it's a Witcher sword. I think that was from
it's
Elden Ring.
No, it's a Witcher sword.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
didn't
it's
they
from
say it
Elden
was
Ring.
Elden Ring?
Yeah,
I
that was
think
from
you're
Elden
right,
Ring,
I'm
if I'm
right.
not mistaken. I believe they had a package they gave him and he put it on the show.
Oh,
If I'm not
I-
mistaken.
I will fight you all. I'm telling you right now. Look,
I
that's a
didn't play
good.
The Witcher 3 for shitty ass combat.
So we don't.
What? What?
Whoa.
Hold- Whoa, 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 whoa. We can't
What
move
did he just
forward
say?
now.
What did he just
What
say?
did you say?
It is
Witcher
an
3
Elden
has
Ring
shit
sword.
combat.
Shit.
Hold on. Who said that? I want to make sure I put my energy in the right place.
Oh, whoa.
Look,
Who said it?
look, before we get off track,
I said it.
you can come back and attack Garuda in a minute. Before we get off track, I think that's a good point. But what that leads us to is the Series S is like developers, and this is the thing, right? I'm not shitting on the Series S. It's a great console. I've got the console. It runs games like amazingly, and some developers do absolutely amazing things with it. But some developers aren't optimizing or struggle to optimize, and Xbox does have a feature parity between the two, right? So this would, if we're having that conversation, Clownz, that the Series S needs support in some way, or it needs a refresh, or it needs to be brought forward in some way, technically, then what we are saying is we're sort of agreeing with the developers here that, yes, it's a possibility that it could not hold gaming back, but make game development a little bit more difficult than needs be. Do you believe, Clownz? I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's not just one developer that said this.
You know, I don't think that it's really holding that much back. To be honest with you, I don't know which studios said this and how skilled those studios are. Not trying to downplay it, but I don't see that being the case. I really think that this is more or less, if anything, if we're speculating here, more or less that it's a bigger push for a cloud gaming device with some beefier hardware inside.
Right. Right. So you think hardware assisted cloud gaming is sort of what they're looking at until they can get the tech to where it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense, right? I think with their big push on this, maybe it will help with some buffering or latency depending on where you are. Maybe it'll download certain portions briefly into RAM. I don't know how it could be designed, but those be some thoughts that I would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Cutie, what do you, so you're definitely set on a cassette player.
I think it's either like a prototype for some sort of social activation, like the cassette player, the toaster, whatever. I honestly I think it's just something fun. I don't think it's anything that we're going to see put on the market. It would be cool if it is going to assist cloud gaming or help me with my Series S because I have a Series S. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to phone home about.
Umbra, what do you think? The
Risk, I'm going to be. Yeah, could you repeat the question for me because I missed it?
He was typing in the chat. Look, I've got a poll up as well for. Do you think it's a Series S Slim? Yes, or do you think it's take with that Series S Slim? Do you think it's something to do with cloud gaming device, or do you think it's a cassette player or something a little fun like a fridge or something like that?
Oh, I already answered. I'm telling you, I'm going on record saying I think it's just a newer iteration of the Keystone.
Okay, Garuda. Yeah. Garuda, what's your final sort of take on it? Keystone or?
I'm going to stick with my tinfoil hattery here and say that it's a dual-purpose unit, one of which is what you guys have mentioned. It's a Keystone, the latest iteration of the Keystone, but it also it has hardware in it, and it can plug into your Series S for a bit of an extra performance boost.
Roger that. Absolutely, KSRT.
Hey, man, I'm just going with something different.
I like that. I like a little bit of speculation on the show. No one's going to hold anyone to this. And the chat seems to be fairly split on this. We've got 29 votes. Series S Slim, yes, 41%. But everyone's thinking it's a toaster or a cassette player because we got 59% going on there. I'm going to end that poll. And with that,
hell yeah.
I think it's a Slim or something to beef up the S. But with that poll ending, also we're going to end the show. It's been absolutely fantastic. The chat, you guys have been amazing. We've had quite a few people through today, and we appreciate every single one of you guys. But we appreciate our guests as well. Clownz, you've been absolutely amazing guest. It's finally managed to get you on. It's been a long time coming. Thanks for coming through. Look, if you guys want to find anyone that we've had on the show today, any of one of our guests or panel members, you can head down in the description, click the links, it'll take you straight there. But Clownz, let the people know what you'll be up to, what's coming up for you, and what you'll be playing in the near future. Looking forward to.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It was fun being here. I got this, debate my points. We had fun debates here. Great show, everyone. Awesome meeting Garuda for the first time as well.
Yeah, you too, brother. Yeah, lovely.
Everyone can find me on 4GQ TV. We have an interview coming up with Tim Cook, who was the lead animator, producer, and different Hanna-Barbera stuff, Scooby-Doo, He-Man. If you remember that, She-Ra, a lot of stuff like that. And then we're gonna have an interview coming up with Mark Brooks, the legendary Marvel artist. So look out for those. Absolutely.
And you'll find a lot of that stuff on 4GQ TV. They don't just talk about gaming, talk about a lot of popular culture stuff, comic, cartoon stuff. Absolutely fantastic show. Head over there and check it out. Garuda, Intruda, fantastic to have you back. Thank you for coming along. And something I did forget to mention, and I should have mentioned, is JediKnightPete is feeling a little bit under the weather, so he wasn't able to join us today. And Garuda, absolute champion, stepped in at short notice. Really appreciate you having you on, brother. And we love having you on as a guest, but it was fantastic for you to step in as an interim panel member for the day. So thank you very, very much. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, what your plans are in the future. And you can also find Garuda down in the description.
Yeah, thank you once again for having me, brother. I'm happy to be on the bench and ready to roll whenever required. And just first of all, whatever Jedi's dealing with, I wish him the best with it. He's an awesome guy, and I missed being able to have it out with him like you always pit us against each other on this show. So I missed that. Hopefully everything's okay with him. You can't find me in too many places still. I'm still all pretty new to this, but I'm Garuda_Intruda on Twitter. And I'm new to Twitter as well, but I've got some ideas about getting some content together in the future. I'm going to be playing my favorite game. Vampire Survivors has just dropped its Tides of Fiscari DLC, which I have purchased. See, I purchased games. $2. It cost me $2.
It was $2. That's why you purchased
You
it.
broke that back.
Well, hey,
You broke it.
it's still a purchase. I'm going to be playing that because let's just face it. I've got to get my 100% back now that this DLC's dropped. I don't have 100% anymore on that game, so I'm going to be playing that and Ghostwire Tokyo. You know what I did? I ordered the Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray, the extended versions, and I haven't seen those movies since release. So that's going to be a treat. I'm going to watch that, catch up on the Mandalorian.
That's your whole weekend right there.
Album.
Yeah, that's your whole weekend with the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, man, I'm overloaded. It is awesome. So, yeah.
If you all didn't see it, by the way, Garuda gave a code out earlier for Harry Potter, by the way, in the chat.
Yeah, one of the movies it was. And I got really confused because I got that code and it said Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And I went, wait, what the hell is that? Because, of course, it's called the Philosopher's Stone in Australia. So I didn't know what it was at first. And that code's there. Hopefully someone got it. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And once again, thanks for having me, Clownz. It's lovely to meet you, mate. Yeah, it was good to hear a dissenting opinion. And, yeah, hopefully we can chat again one time.
Absolutely.
Definitely, man.
We'd love dissenting opinions on the podcast. I definitely do not pit them against each other. It's just what they do all by themselves.
No.
And there is a
He
phrase.
does pit people against each other, and I love it.
Yeah.
There is a phrase that we use in Australia for people who won't buy games, and we say tight as a fish's asshole. Doom Cutie.
You know what? I'd rather be tight than the alternative.
Doom Cutie. Another fantastic fire show. Let the people know where you'll be. You can be found. What you'll be doing for the next week. Obviously, you've been playing X Defiant. Let people know how they can also play X Defiant. A little bit disappointed you didn't tell me about this because it's the first I'm hearing of it. So shame on you.
Well, if you would have been noticing my Twitter, you would have seen it yesterday. But so anyone can join in with the closed beta. All you have to do is go into someone who's streaming it on Twitch, watch for half an hour, and have your Twitch linked to your Ubisoft account, and then you can jump into the game as well. The game is 60 gigabytes. So please be warned. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'll be jumping into that a little bit more. I'll probably I'll be streaming it again this week, hoping to get a few more streams in. I've actually got a house inspection, so I will reward myself afterwards by jumping into some games. I want to get into while I'm on holidays. I want to get into like a game I haven't played before. That's like, I don't know, a game that is awesome, really good story, like really like finish it. So if anyone can give me a suggestion
Last
on
of Us.
that, I would. Last of Us?
Remaster.
I don't have
Don't
that.
listen to him. Don't listen to him. What was your question, Cutie? What was your question?
While I'm on holidays, so I probably won't stream it, but I'll I'll post
Ghost
up
of
some content.
Tsushima.
What?
Yeah, I would co-sign
What
that
game? What game should I get into?
Days
So
Gone.
I've played
Riskit's being a pony reader.
Jedi Fallen Order already.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you played that already and beat it, then I wouldn't go back to it right now. But you can't go wrong.
There's someone in the
with,
chat mentioned it.
yeah, if you haven't played Last of Us, didn't play it, yeah. But if you have, I would definitely agree with him on Ghost of Tsushima. One of the
Hellblade.
better new IP.
What about Hellblade?
Hellblade?
Yeah.
Have you ever played Hellblade?
No, I haven't played Hellblade.
Then Hellblade.
Hellblade. 100%.
Okay.
Stick your headphones
All right.
on.
Well, stay tuned, guys.
Absolutely jump on
And if,
stream with that. It's great. Mental wise as well. It also helped my mental health. I felt much better after playing it.
Okay.
You'd
I'm very
love it.
suspicious about this.
You'll love it.
Beware of the puzzles, though. You might need to look up something on those. So some of them are annoying. I'll say that. Some of the puzzles you have to do.
I didn't look up any of them. That's weird.
No, I'm saying that she might want to. I did. I have no shame in that. When I'm not sitting there forever trying to figure something out.
Ah, you cheated. I got you.
Yeah.
Hey, he just played smart. He played smartly.
That's right. I cheated smart.
Well, look, absolutely. Head down to the description. You can find Doom Cutie down there. And click on those
all
links.
my links are in there. So
Absolutely.
yeah, you know where to find me. And thank you for Clownz. Clownz, thank you for being here, and Garuda for jumping in for Jedi. What we hope he's feeling really well. And yeah, the chat, you're always cool. You're always awesome. Got a bit heated today, but we're all good. All the love.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't have Garuda and Jedi to fight each other, so we had to get Clownz to fight Garuda. Anyway, moving on. Umbra, another fantastic show, and you just coming off the back of your own show, which is fantastic to see. She's up. It's called The Fix. You can find that in the description. Also, please head there and subscribe to his channel. Don't watch the first hour of his show. Just skip that bit. Because exactly
20 minutes.
It's exactly
Just 20 minutes.
It's exactly what happened on my first show. Exactly what happened. I just deleted that shit. But it happened. It's happened again a few times. So audio issues with OBS are just an absolute pain in the fucking ass, and I completely sympathize. It's can be really tough. So Umbra, let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to. Everyone in the chat, make sure you head over there and hit the like, subscribe button.
Yeah, man, this was a good discussion. It got heated a bit, like Cutie said, but it's all love. Again, most of my frustration came because I've been seeing people online and Xbox fans, because I love this community, and I've seen friends of mine going against other friends of mine saying negative stuff because of the whole 30 frames per second debacle. It's like, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? Like, don't turn toward each other negatively. That's what the Who brothers want. So I was already kind of displaced on that, So it was no intent to be harmful in how I came off. But, I can understand with my massively aggressive, manly voice. It can come off like that. I get it. Some of y'all might not get it. You all not manly as me. But anyway, I just want to point out that
low key shots of Cutie there. I saw that. Yep.
To the other man that you just feel inferior.
Concerning. I think it would be concerning if I sounded manly.
What if she was and she's in there like, "Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, how you going? It's
Yeah,
Cutie's channel."
It's much love over here. You head over to my YouTube. Don't watch the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, hey.
That ain't where it's at. But thanks Colt for coming through.
Y'all here doing my voice, Ponty? That's what you wanted. I see you,
There you
Kay,
go,
by the way. I
thank
see you
you.
hating on it. I see you doing a little face palm. Don't hate on my manly voice. But anyway, no, I want to say thanks to for Clownz and for Garuda, coming through and doing your thing. It was great to have you guys on. Garuda, it's always good to have you on, brother. You've been here with us a few times.
Yeah,
and-
thanks, man. Like
Yeah,
I say,
man.
brother, I love being here. I love this show. So
Yeah,
I'm
man,
happy
you-
to, I'm there.
You
whenever
give
need
great
me.
takes, so we're happy to have you. So honestly,
thanks,
and
man.
you know your
Appreciate that.
stuff.
Thank you.
I'm glad
Absolutely.
he said
You know your
takes
stuff, man.
because it is show 69. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
well, this is true.
Thank you to the chat too for all of you all holding us down like you have. And if you haven't, give the show a like. And I put my link in the description. You all, if you haven't already, give a brother a subscription. Subscribe to me. The fix is going to be correct next week without any technical glitches to start it off, because I've corrected what the fault was. But if you haven't watched it, go check out the replay. Just skip past 20 minutes. I'm going to try to edit that out anyway once I get a chance. But it was a really good discussion, honestly, with Cole Eastwood, who joined in with me. And Daniel was excellent after the fact. So big thanks to Colt for that too. And yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. And man, of course, Xbox Factor on Tuesdays with Booming Cast at 12 o'clock Eastern. And of course, you'll find me here on Fridays. And the fix is Thursday. So you all come through. And again, it is open to everybody to come through in the community, because I don't just say that to say it. As long as you have a good mic, the situation, the discussion that we're talking about and the information, I'm all for hearing you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But I did hear.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be checking it out.
Thank you, brother.
I did hear that he's charging community members to come on the show. I believe it was $5 per hour. So, if you want to
he
pay,
also paid me to be there. It was really weird.
it's a very pony
Less
sort
than
of
what
thing
you
to
charge
do,
me.
but it's all, it's all good.
Yeah.
Look, absolutely. If you want to find any one of the panel members, any one of the guests today on the show, head down in the description, click those links, follow in, jump on and subscribe. I've been playing Sifu. Thank you to the Pony Nation for beta testing that for us. We appreciate it. All the bugs and glitches are worked out. And chat, you guys have been amazing as always. Love seeing some new faces in here. Love seeing the old faces. You guys are absolute champions. It's a good time. Thank you for coming through, supporting us every week. We really do appreciate it. If you are new, hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, hit the like button as we get out of here. And thank you, everyone. Xbox Infinite signing off. Should I use a
Delay Redfall.
delay?
69, dude.
69.